Welcome back to the 24 Hours of Le Mans, where after, with just under 16 hours to go, so after still Audi just clinging on to a tenuous lead. And I was thinking while I was having my dinner, and then there was one. Does that remind you of anything? A couple of years ago, Audi had disasters. Just one car was left early in the evening with two Peugeots, two blue and white cars chasing it. And the one car remained in front all the way to the flag. Now, this time, it's not the number one car that is the sole Audi, which is remaining healthy. It is the number two car. But Jeremy Shaw, car number one, and possibly, it seems, car number three now, have suffered the same crankshaft issue. Number three there, just a little bit of whoopsie as the car was coming out of the pit lane. He ran up beside him and has just waved him back in front because, of course, we are in the yellow flags, although the safety car is due to come in this lap.
Yeah, you can see how much gravel there was on the road up there at the Dunlop curves as well. I think perhaps that would have cost the number three car a lap again to the Toyotas that it was chasing. So, yeah, that was clearly an unscheduled start. I don't think it could have been the same problem that the number one car had.
No, because if you've got a design problem with one car, it hardly ever appears on any of the others.
So what? No, I mean, clearly it's not the same because a crankshaft, well, you know, it was a major problem the number one car had, and that cost them half an hour in the pits. This car was only in there for it was in there for 7 minutes or so, and they were somewhat fortunate, I think, to do that, make that stop under caution and lose effectively only 1.5 laps.
Well, I wonder whether it was a little knock-on effect of their earlier puncture, which, of course, cost them more time and a chance to lead the race. Lights out on the safety cars now, boys and girls. We are about to go green once more in the staggered, sort of randomly going green in different bits all over the track that they have here at Le Mans. With the Corvette right in front of us is a safety car. As you can see, the lights are off. Yeah, and away we go. This is out of Arnage. The safety car has pulled off, and oh, Jeremy's scribbling furiously. So, third safety car? Fourth safety car, indeed. See, starting to lose track already.
Yeah, that's why I make my notes.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
11:04, we go back to green, so that was sort of 15 minutes of...
I did as well, but if they're going to throw safety cars while I'm at dinner, I'm sorry.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I know.
So, unfortunately, Kazuki Nakajima did fall off the lead lap during that safety car period, and he is now on one lap down, therefore. 120 laps completed by car number two, Tom Christensen, at the wheel of that Audi R18 e-tron Quattro. Kazuki Nakajima and Stefan Zauers in the number 7 and 8 cars, both now one lap down and separated by about 15 seconds, so probably a whole train of cars. I think they would have been behind the same safety car. Yellow flag at Marshalls Post 55, which is...
that is just on the approach to the second chicane. Yeah, we have them posted up in front of us because it's hard to remember. See the cars, the fast prototypes weaving through traffic furiously in a sort of way that's a little bit reminiscent of Daytona. Number three car is the second of the delayed Audis. GTE class Ferrari in front, and see how the Audi got. Did he get boxed in there, or did he let that other prototype go? What's that? Is that the Stracker? I think it was. Yellow flag on the approach to the chicane. We're on the opposite side of the track, rushing down on the public highway towards Maison Blanche, but nowadays, whoosh, sweeping right into the Porsche curves. And look at the way now that the Audi is going to car through these guys. In fact, that's not, it's Indianapolis. I misread my track there completely. It's still on public highway as most of this lap remains. Of course, in the very first iteration of this, it was it drove right to the fringe of the town, right up to the river at Pontlieu, the hairpin there, and came back out of the city. And in fact, in that case, it was really right on the fringe of the city. Now it is actually deep in the city, Pontlieu hairpin. Now sweeping into these fabulously grippy and challenging Porsche curves. Funfair will come into sight.
We were looking there at the third place car in... Whoa, there goes number 57 car. That makes a change.
Yeah.
Who's driving it?
Crone Racing Ferrari.
Tracy Crone's at the wheel. Gosh, that's
not again.
Jeremy,
well, he's had a few offs, unfortunately, this weekend. A huge one on Thursday, so it's great to see him back at the wheel of the car. He hasn't had a couple of spins today as well, so it's not been a great week for Tracy Crone, but you know, they are soldiering on and doing the best they can in GTE Am. Incidentally, in GTE Am, we've got new leaders there. From a little while ago, Darrell O'Young was leading in the car number 55. He's lost that lead now. It's Porsche's 1, 2, 3 in GTE Am. And Paolo Roberti leads in number 88 car. The sister Proton car also entered under Dempsey Piero Racing. Patrick Long at the wheel.
Just saw a report that the number 41 Greaves Motorsport car was stopped out on track. Tom Kimber-Smith, Alexander Rossi and Eric Lux's car. That's the
it's just
Mike Gascoigne Caterham car.
Just tumbling down the order as you speak, Martin. And yeah, they had problems earlier with that, some electrical problems, and Mike Gascoigne was in here talking about the hope they'd gotten behind them, but obviously not.
Bumped into a friend of Darrell O'Young's last night at dinner. In fact, almost every car in the classes other than LMP1 is now shown as being stopped to the side of the track, so yet another technical glitch, I'm afraid, on our timing screens. Darrell O'Young, Vancouver-born, San Francisco-educated, Hong Kong Chinese, World Touring Car driver and occasional multiple winner of the 12 hours first chicane. Who went smoking on straight through it there? Do they appear beside us? They do not. 12 hours of Bathurst. And met his buddy Art last night, very interested in SRTs and getting them back to China somehow.
We set the classes again, perhaps. We've got, it's still, Todd Christensen leads there for P1 by a lap over Kazuki Nakajima, in car number 7. The sister number 8 Toyota, Stefan Sauerzin, about 18 seconds behind Kazuki Nakajima in second and third. Both 1 lap down to the leaders. Then 1 lap down, farther lap down is Luca Di Grassi in car number 3. Matthias Besch 1 lap farther back in car number 13 for Rebellion Racing. Nick Leventis at the wheel of the Straka Racing HPD, another lap back. Actually 2 laps farther back in 6th place overall, and Nicola Prost 1 lap behind the Straka car. In P2, Bertrand Baguette leads by about 2 minutes or so over Olivier Plas. That's the 2 Oak Racing Morgan Nissans 35 and 24. Jan Mardenborough up to 3rd place in that class and charging after Olivier Plas. Oliver Turvey, number 38 car for Jota Sport, 4th place in that class, and then the number 26 car, Mike Conway, at the wheel of the Delta ADR car, 5th place in P2. In GTE Pro, Bruno Senna leads in car number 99. He and Fred Makovecki just doing a stellar job at the wheel of that car, along with the Rob Bell, of course, the Englishman. That car is leading now pretty well by about 9 seconds over Peter Dunbreck in number 97 Aston Martin, and Richard Leitz in number 92 Porsche is about 56 seconds behind as well. So he, I believe, was caught behind a pace car during that last safety car period.
You mentioned Nick Leventis, by the way, in 6th place, Straka Racing. During the safety car period, I had a chance to talk to Johnny Kane. He had a fantastic stint after taking the car over from Danny Watts. They've moved it up from 36 to 8th. Then, of course, all the P1 cars ahead of them started having problems, and Johnny's saying, we'll just let the race come to us now, because we hope all our problems are behind us, let the others have theirs, and who knows, tomorrow morning we might be at the top.
Absolutely right. Also in GTE Pro, I noticed that number 91 car now, Timo Bernhard, that's a wheel of that. That's the 2nd of the factory Porsches, the brand new Porsche 991 shelled cars. That is running in 4th place and is back on the lead lap with Bruno Senna, Peter Dunbreck and Richard Leitz in front of them. So that's finally we've got 4 cars back on the lead lap in GT. That battle, of course, was ruined in the first safety car period, where 3 cars were able to get ahead, 1 pace car ahead of it, 1 safety car clear of everybody else.
But have we seen any other safety cars bringing battles back together?
No.
There have been lots of them. Unfortunately, yes, it does tend to be the order heads to chaos, and therefore more safety cars means more battles get broken up.
Yeah, it really happens. Having said that, the number 26 car for Delta ADR, that did actually benefit from a safety car, because John Martin managed to close up within about 15 seconds of the lead, so he'd made up a significant amount of time. And when when a caution did come out, he was able to make up that deficit. So, but it didn't. At least he's about the only guy I think so far that has benefited from a full course caution.
Pit road visit for the number 1 Audi. Let's hope this is a regulation stop. If he hasn't done 10 laps, Jeremy Shaw, then we start to worry again about this number 1 machine.
Do we? He's now 12 laps behind the overall race leader, so...
Just to point out, incidentally, that we are not responsible for the feed pictures here at Eurosport. We take them from the host broadcast, same as everybody else who is watching it. And also, Chris Molyneux, we don't scramble the safety cars neither. We share your frustration, but they're not our fault. Nothing we can do, I'm afraid, about safety cars. Well, let's get down to the garage area. Let's find out what's happening chez Corvette. Tallest man in the team is Ollie Gavin.
Oliver Denat did start. It's still a long way to go. What is the situation for you now?
The situation is okay. You know, we're doing our race, and it's going okay, I suppose. The weather was very difficult earlier on. We had a little bit of a problem just then because when the prototype car crashed in the Porsche curves, he dragged a lot of stones on, and we unfortunately got a puncture. So we had a left rear tyre going down. So the team saw that. So we had to come in just before the safety car did to change that, and we also changed driver at that point. And it's, yeah, you know, we just can't seem to catch a break at the moment. Unfortunately, you know, for us, the Aston Martin and the Porsche are just so much faster than us, and we are passengers really at the moment in terms of our race, but it's still a long way to go. We'll keep running our race and see what we can do, see what we can pick up. And, you know, plenty can still happen.
When will you still be back on car?
I'm sorry?
When will you be back on car?
Oh, I think I'll be back in the car in about 4 hours.
Okay, thank you.
Get some rest.
Thank you, Ollie Gav. Let's hope he can find a bed that's long enough. Here is the Greaves Motorsport number 41 Caterham sponsored car. Any evidence of Mike Gascoigne? Very easy to spot. He's in Caterham green, changing cooling ducts and all sorts of bits and pieces on the front end of that car. Just a couple of thoughts. If you want people mentioned on air, we can't spend all night long doing it because there is actually a race going on, but Damien Patel, mention your grandmother's watching with you and loving Le Mans. If you mentioned her name, we'd give her a shout. And James Wood, mention your wife's name occasionally when asking for a shout-out for her as well. Simon Le Bon didn't ask for a shout-out, but gets one because he likes motor racing, Le Mans and yachting. And I think by all accounts, that probably makes him a good egg, even were it not for the fact that my 10-year-old son loves Duran Duran's back catalogue. So... It's funny, isn't it? The people who sort of pop up at big events like this, who you've got no idea are basically secret motor racing anoraks, and that's always good fun to see as well.
We discovered tonight from Mike Gascoigne that he's a round-the-world sailor. He sailed the Atlantic single-handedly, and in November he's going to do the Bahamas again.
See, now, if you followed at Mike Gascoigne on Twitter, you know these things.
Right.
We're going to take a quick commercial break, and it looks as though the Greaves Zytek is just about to head back out on track. Stay with us live on Eurosport wherever you are. We're here for you too, because we care. Busy time at Greaves Motorsport, 1 in, 1 out. Well, now 2 out as the number 42 car follows its teammate out onto the track. But this is Jan Mardenborough. Regulation stop from the young boy from South Wales. And hello, Cardiff. What's Yakidar, Borodar? I don't know what good evening is in Welsh. It was not Yakidar, it might be Borodar, it might not be. Good evening anyway to everybody in Cardiff watching us, and wherever you are, whether you're across Europe or North or South America, Asia Pacific Rim.
1 minute 24 second stop there, so a little bit longer than usual for Jan Mardenborough there, but he's going to be on the cusp of going a lap down, I think, to the leader in P2. We'll have to wait until they come around to the next time and look to find out whether that is indeed the case. It's still Bertrand Baguette who leads by about a minute, a bit over a minute from his teammate Olivier Pla, who returned some very quick laps in the car number 24. Mardenborough, I think, still remains in third place in the class, ahead of Oliver Turvey in car number 38 and Mike Conway in number 26. And then Mike Conway has got his hands full of Maxime Martin in the Thierry by TDS car number 46. He's charging along right behind. Those two pretty much in very close proximity to each other.
Joe Evans has finished his exams. Peter Moxon studying for his Navy officer selection. I'm not quite sure how this is going to help either of you, but let's get down to the pit lane and find out something more interesting.
Alex, the two cars are leading the category. The night is there now, and I think you are a strategy with very long stints. Can you explain what's going on?
Yeah, well, basically we lost a little bit of time earlier on with a little incident with a GT. So now in the night, me and Ollie are going to do 4 each to try and bring back the deficit if it's all possible. We're going to see how we get on tyre mileage, but definitely leaving the drivers in to hopefully build some speed and drag the gap back a little bit.
Well, you're able to sleep a bit because I think you will be back in the car in 2 hours doing a 4-stint relay. So how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel fine. Yeah, I managed to get my head down for a few minutes, but I can't really sleep until it's properly dark. And when it's properly dark, I need to be in the race car. So I'll try and get some shut-eye in after the next one.
Thank you.
Question, Jeremy Shaw, about driver stints. In fact, we've had this 2 or 3 times, and I'm glad to try and answer these questions for people that are new to sports car racing or new to Le Mans, and also for those of you who have seen a lot of Le Mans. If you have got really technical questions, again, we'll try our best. Very straightforward. Length of stints. We've heard about drivers doing triple stints, 4 stints, 5 stints. Is there any maximum time, Jeremy Shaw, Mark Cole, that a driver can spend in the car? A maximum cut-off in 1 stint? Mark?
I'm just going to have a look at
4 hours, isn't it?
I think it's 4 hours.
I think so.
Yeah.
And sometimes a 5-hour stint will get right up to that mark. I think there is... By regulation now, you have to have 3 drivers. But is there a minimum one has to do? 90 minutes or? I'm not sure there is.
I'm sure there is, yes. Yeah, and it's several hours. I honestly don't know. I'm not I'm not a WC regular these days, but I am fairly sure you can't do anything more than 4 hours in any one time behind the wheel. Generally, we talked about this a little while ago, actually. The definition of a stint is how long the car can go between fuel stops. The leading Audi generally is running 10 laps between fuel stops. That would be, we would describe that as 1 stint. So if we do a quadruple stint, that's 4 stints in a row. That's getting through 4 full tanks of fuel before he hands over to the next driver. And that generally takes around about 3 hours now, a little bit less than that in the top prototype cars. The Toyotas, they're running 12 laps on a stint of fuel.
Right, I can actually give you the official line now. Drivers, obviously a minimum of 3 in the cars. A driver may drive no more than 4 hours in any 6, and no more than 14 hours total in the race.
No more than 4 in any 6.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you can't get out, put your gentleman driver in and get straight back in again.
Right.
Basically. So you've got to, I mean, it would be tough to do 4 hours, stick somebody in for a stint, get back in and try and do another 4 hours. That would be really hard going.
But we are aware of a number of teams that are planning to just get the minimum time for their bronze driver, which we believe is 3 hours. Can't confirm that. We did ask this question last year, never got an answer from the ACO. Just one other thing about driving in time. The last lap you must complete within 6 minutes, else you will not be classified as a finisher.
Patrick Dempsey of this parish, well-known racing driver who apparently has a television career of some kind as well. I'm not being facetious, but he was talking just the other day about how if he could afford to give up acting and become a full-time race car driver, he would do it in a heartbeat. This guy's not playing around. He has spent, Jeremy, a lot of time getting up to the sort of speed that's required to be respectably quick at Le Mans, and he's done a good job at doing it.
Works very hard at that. If you saw that picture, he was the guy he was talking to was Greg Cates, who is his crew chief, team manager in the United States American Le Mans Series. Greg Cates spent many years.
For us flying Toyota, we catch a lot of glass, sand, dust, everything. Circuit very dirty, and I think I'm going to not dig into the cooler.
Yeah, that's Tom Christensen. He's just straight-lined the first chicane. That's what they're talking about. I think he thinks he's picked up something there, so we'll see how that's going to develop. We just had a message flashed up that car 2 had gone straight on at Marshall's Post 42, which is the Forza chicane.
And that, of course, is the race leader. Also, the car that set the fastest lap of the race in the hands. It says Tom Christensen.
Yeah,
I thought that was Loic Duval.
It was Loic Duval.
It reflects who's currently in the car rather than who set the time.
Correct, and that's almost a full second quicker than Loic Duval's fastest race lap from last year, which was a 3 minutes 24.189. He did this earlier on lap 86, 3 minutes 23.269. The race lap record on this configuration, also set by Loic Duval. That was in the R15 TDI Plus back in 2010. As a 3 minute 19.074, but back then they had a lot more horsepower than they have now.
Yeah, much bigger engines, of course, as well. We're down. Yep, now down to 3.7, aren't we?
Yeah, from 5.5.
Yep. So,
number 47 LMP2 car gradually climbing up the order, isn't it? It's knocking on the doors of the top 10. Alexander Imperatori at the wheel. We had a Murphy moment a little bit earlier on. There is the Murphy Motorsport car. Mark Patterson giving the car to anybody. Every time I've seen it, Mark Patterson's been in the car. Is that right? That was rather greedy of him.
Brendan Hartley back in it now, and that car's certainly been running some very competitive laps. They've had a few little niggles as well, so they're running outside the top 10 in the class, but still running pretty strongly.
And another question, we had one earlier about lights on cars. Let's start at the very front. Yellow headlights, GT car, white headlights, prototype car. How bright they are? Jolly is the answer, but in lumens or candle power, couldn't tell you. You'd have to go and ask a team member. On the side of the car, on every car's door or side panel, are 3 lights. And if they have 1 light illuminated, they're first in class, 2 lights illuminated, second in class, 3 lights illuminated, third in class. Very straightforward. For this car particularly, they will be orange because it's in the GTE amateur class. If it's a GT car, i.e. a road-based car in the pro class, it'll have green lights on the side. If it's got blue lights on the side and it doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before, then it's an LMP2 car. If it's got red lights on the side, like our race leaders, then it's an LMP1 car. So top 3 trackside, you can tell instantly if a car that flashes by is in the top 3 of any class, and just by knowing which those 4 colours are, you can tell which it is. Also, illuminated side panels. Now, these are not, they're phosphorescent, are they? They're not back illuminated panels. They're phosphorescent panels which allow drivers to be identified from trackside by doofuses like us, and doofuses like us when we're not sitting in front of a TV screen. And finally, marker lights. Blue lights flashing on the front of a GT car does not mean he's a member of the constabulary. Teams use different colours and patterns of lights, usually on the front of their car. For prototypes, often around the airbox or the air cleaner, and for the GT cars, often in the windscreen strip, so that they can identify which set of headlights coming towards them is theirs. So, for instance, if you're expecting your Corvette and a set of yellow headlights comes down and it's got a blue strip vertically down its windscreen, and you're in the Labra team, you know it's your number 70 car. For anybody else, it doesn't matter. They're purely inter-team identification marks. I think that's covered lights. Oh, and they don't actually strobe at the back. That's just an effect of the way the LED lights work, which is constantly flashing on and off, and the effect of the cameras. And in the garage now, with 1 green light on the side of it, we now know, without even seeing what the number of the door is our GT Pro Class leader. There ends the lesson.
That would be car number 99. Bruno Senna just brought that car in, and that was Rob Bell climbing aboard, wasn't it? I wasn't really paying attention. I think it was, presume it was Rob Bell climbing aboard number 99 car. That is just relinquished the lead in the class to Peter Dunbrick in the number 97 car. Yeah. So, yeah, sister car, absolutely. So they're running slightly different strategies there.
Can't see in now. Is that baby Bobby Bell? Yes, I think, yes, it is. Yellow helmet, yeah. And it's not Danny Watts. That means it's Rob Bell.
Lewis Hamilton.
Was another question, actually. So a lot of people have asked, why do the 2 Toyotas have different shaped roof vents? I know. we're going to have to study this. I hadn't noticed, I've got to say, but several people have asked. In fact, more than several, quite a number have asked. Car number 28 reported with no headlights. He may well be aware of that problem, in fairness, because you would spot that. That's the Philip Hazerbrook car, the last running car, which has just gone out of the pit road. So I imagine he might be creeping around very slowly right at the moment, trying to feel his way back to the pits to get the headlights turned on. Nighttime at Le Mans, and one of the shortest nights in any kind of racing. Daytona, of course, in February has one of the longest nights. Here it's, well, barely 6 hours. However, it's cold, dark and windy. This frankly feels like they've had to run the race in March for some bizarre political reason. Not that that ever happens here in France, of course. Again, we're reporting cars going off. It's funny, isn't it? As soon as you get out of the twilight, which you would think would be the hardest time for the drivers when they're driving into what little weak sunshine there has been, suddenly you see cars going off all over the place. Philip Pond tells us that different air takes on the Toyota do exist.
Yeah, 2012 and 2013 bodywork. Apparently I haven't seen the cars this year. It's the first time I've seen it, to be honest, I must admit. Somebody asked here, CJ asked us, why are the car lights still on during the day?
Because they have to be.
Because they have to be, and the main reason they have to be is so you can see who's coming up behind you, because at that speed it's difficult to see. So if it's the yellow lights behind you, it's a GT car. If it's the white lights, it's a prototype car. Who else here? Various other people.
Stephen Firth saying, I'm watching Le Mans for the first time. I'm amazed by the speed of the cars through the Porsche curves. I've been coming here for 30 years. I'm amazed by the speed of the Porsche curves. That never gets old. No. And the speed on the Mulsanne, that never gets old either.
And the overall speeds as well. I mean, the fastest lap here, the average speed was set at well over 150 miles an hour. So that's the average speed. That's for the prototype cars. Even for the GTE cars, the average lap speed is over 130 miles an hour. Average lap speed for a GT car. Ooh, pretty impressive.
Sparks flying. What was that? One of the mechanics have a fag on and not the end of it.
Hadn't earthed himself, obviously. So this is the factory Porsche line second at the moment. Richard Leeds just handing over to Mark Lee, and that's still the Porsche sandwich in an Aston Martin loaf as they rejoin there. And this battle's just going to run and run. Peter Dunbrett leading the class from now Mark Lieb and from.
Oh, it's Porsche, Aston, the top four cars. The Ferraris are not getting a look in at the moment.
Of course, Rod Bell's just moved up to second during that pit stop, but that'll sort itself out next time round.
I'm here with the technical director for Toyota numbers 7 and 8. So far, the cars seem to be going quite well. Are you pleased with the progress so far?
At the moment, everything is running according to plan. Our pace is reasonably good in the night. We were slower during daytime, but now it's okay. So yeah, so far so good.
Great, I'll let you get back to it. Thank you very much.
Short and sharp, that's our Liz Halliday in the pit lane. Yeah. I'm going to pay for that later on. I think I'm being G'd up to offend parts of the nation. People are suggesting not only how to say good night in Welsh, which I didn't want, I wanted to say good evening rather than go away, but also suggesting I give various regional shout-outs to various parts of the country. I think perhaps I'm being sent a bit of a pup there, so we'll ignore all
I'd avoid the northwest of England if I was you. You did give us a loaded shout from Sunderland earlier on, which was...
A couple of people have asked us, what are the hybrid zones? I'm not sure we've talked about that, but the hybrid zones are where the hybrid cars, which is the Audis and the Toyotas, they're the only ones...
10 seconds in front of you is the second place Toyota, he's a lap ahead. 20 seconds in front of you is race leader Christensen, 2 laps ahead.
Pretty straightforward there. Good information there for Luca Di Grassi at the wheel of car number 3. The hybrid zones, there's 2 teams running the hybrid systems, which is assisted technology, if you like, to have more horsepower to the wheels, and they're the hybrid systems regenerate power under braking, store that power, and then release it under acceleration. They're not allowed to use it on every corner, however. There's 7 braking zones on this track where the hybrid systems are allowed to regenerate the power or produce power that is stored on board the car for release later on. Only on 7 points here. It's at the
braking we've just gone through, the Dunlop curve.
Yeah, and then also the first chicane, the second chicane, Mulsanne corner, Indianapolis, the entrance to the Porsche curves, and also the entrance to the Ford chicane as well toward the end of the lap.
Listen, Jeremy, just getting back to the radio message for Lucas di Grassi here in the number 3 car, the relevance of the gaps to the car in front is because this guy has got the afterburners on. His last lap was a 3:27. He's just gone round in a 3:30. The leaders, well, the second-placed Toyota, the one that he's catching, is doing a 3:33. And that's only a lap in front of him, so he is closing and trying to unlap himself on the second-place Toyota. And then, of course, Tom Christensen, the race leader in the Audi, is a lap ahead of the whole field, so he's then got to go by Christensen a second time in the next 15.5 hours, a bit less, to try and unlap himself and get back onto lead lap. But it's because of the speed of di Grassi that he wants to know, who am I going to get to, who's really important, and how far up the road are they? That's the carrot that Howden Haynes was just dangling there for him on the end of that little radio string.
And picking up on your earlier thread, Martin, about the times coming down tonight, we've got Oliver Turvey in the 38 Zytex, just done that car's best, and Ryan Briscoe in the HPD has just done his car's personal best. That's the 33 level 5 motorsports, certainly in the first sector. So these times starting to get quicker and quicker as the night gets cooler.
Yeah, the number 33 car, level 5 motorsports, Ryan Briscoe was charging in the early stages of this race. They've had, however, several delays in the pits. They've had some problems with the engine management system, effectively, and that has cost them quite a few laps. And now on lap 116, so 5 laps behind the leaders, and about 12th or 13th, 14th place perhaps in P2.
Look at this phalanx of photographers, all because of this man. Patrick Dempsey's a massive star. I mean, those of you who have watched Grey's Anatomy will know him well. He's a massive, massive star here in France currently, because, of course, they're a decade behind everybody else. But, I mean, he's really drawing a huge crowd wherever he goes. Charming, charming man. Plenty of time for lots of media, and seems to be doing a very good job with the car. And he is desperately, desperately serious about this. This is not playing around. In the same way that Paul Newman came here and Steve McQueen came here, they were not doing it for kicks and laughs. They were doing it to try and win their race. And he is desperately in the same position as well. Pat Long's out of the car, and in a real scrum of photographers there trying to get out of the way. And Joe Foster as well, the third man in this crew. Well, there is Pat Long,
having vacated the car in the lead of GTE-AM. I think he will probably lose the lead now to Paolo Roberti in the second of the Proton Run cars.
Well, they're going for full service here. Only 2 people allowed to work on the car when fueling or tyre changing. The exception is a helper to help strap the driver in, because you cannot do your own belts up, because you can't get down to them, and you can't tip your head down to see them because the helmet and the hands device. And also, the helper is allowed to clean the windscreen of a car that has one, a closed coupe, a prototype, or a GT car, purely for safety grounds. Other than that, only 2 people involved. So full service, and unlike Formula 1, where the driver comes in, gets tyres, goes off, gets tyres, goes off, gets tyres, goes off, in GT racing and in sports car racing here at Le Mans and everywhere else, the driver runs until he runs out of fuel, and quite often, even then, he doesn't get new tyres. Quite often it'll be 2 tanks or 3 tanks. Most cars now, because of the strength of the tyre, will keep 1 tyre on, fresh tyre with the driver, and the tyres will not be changed until he steps out of the car, and then the new driver gets another set of new tyres, and off he goes. And that may be, in the case of Patrick Dempsey, another 2 hours and change from here. Now, 2 marker lights on the side of his car. They're orange, GT-AM class. 2 marker lights means he's, yes, second in class. Car was in the lead when it came in. See two cars from the same AF Corsa team then just flying by. The green one is the 51, the blue stripes down the windscreen, that's the 71 car. Their team will know that as well. They will know exactly in which order they went by without having to look at the timing screen. That's important for holding out the pit board at the right time. You only get one chance every 4 minutes to inform your driver on the pit board of what's going on. Otherwise you have to telephone him on the radio and potentially ruin his concentration.
On board here with our race leader, Tom Christensen.
Good stuff, boys. And heavy on brakes. It's a little bit sort of low, a little bit vibration, a little bit low. Just tell me if the temperature is okay. Fans feels fine. Temperature fine. Temperature fine.
Howden Haynes is engineer on the radio. And again, there's quite often, you don't hear it so much on the radio, on the TV, because they sort of pick little bits out. They don't just throw everything up because there's a lot of radio traffic. But if you've ever watched Truth in 24, and if you haven't, do yourself a favour after this broadcast, go and Google Truth in 24 and Truth in 24 2, two stunning inside Le Mans films of Audi races, and that gives you an awful lot of the radio chatter. There's a lot going on between the driver and the engineer. Of course, it's a long lap. It's 6.5 miles, 6.4 miles. So there's a long time between coming past the pits. And so you've got plenty, sorry, 8. You've got plenty of time on some of these straights to actually have a think and to have a conversation. I mean, yeah, they're going very quickly, but sometimes there's not a lot in the way.
No, and there's certainly some places you want to talk to the driver and some places you don't.
Just.
A couple of very quick notes here. Callum asks, what are gentlemen drivers? Gentlemen drivers basically are amateur drivers, i.e. not professionals.
Not being paid to drive.
Not being paid to drive, indeed.
Welcome back to Eurosport's coverage, 24 hours of Le Mans. There is the number 71 AF Corsa Ferrari. Comes in for regular service. Tony Vilander takes the 71 car back out, and that is now in 6th in the GTE Pro class. In fact, Jimmy Bruni takes it over from Tony Vilander. There's the blue windscreen stripe down the side. That 71 car at one stage, in fact, I beg your pardon, Kamui Kobayashi. Right, so all three drivers have now been cycled through in the space of about 30 seconds on our timing screen. All right, we'll go with Kobayashi. That 71 car was the lead Ferrari at one stage, wasn't it? It was battling with the top three. I beg your pardon, for 4th place, when it was in that battle for 4th place. And now it seems to have dropped off the pace a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's running a couple of laps off the ultimate pace in GTE Pro. The class is still led by the number 99 car, Rob Bell at the wheel of that, followed by number 97, Darren Turner. There's about 20 seconds between those two cars on the road. Mark Lieb in the number 92 Porsche is about another 25 seconds or so farther behind, and then Timo Bernhardt running 4th in the second of the factory Porsche, just car number 91. Next up will be Jimmy Bruni in car number 51, who is 1, possibly 2 laps behind the pace in GT. And the reason it's hard to say because where the scoring, how the scoring system shows up here. Shout out here to Kieran McAndrew. After we'll have a get down the pit lane and hear from Patrick Long.
Patrick, you just did 3 stints and a fantastic job taking the 1st position. So now I think Patrick is 2nd, but how was it?
Yeah, the pit stops are offset, so we're sort of out of sequence with the 88 car, but we're glad that it's 2 Porsches fighting up front. There's some strong Ferraris and an Aston out there as well, and there's a long way to go. The triple stint wasn't planned. We had a little bit of an issue with the valve stem, and so we had to come in and change that tire. We would have double stinted that first set of tires, but all in all, it ended up working out well because of the safety car. really the trick is there's been so many safety cars, it's where the safety car comes out. So you have to race like a sprint race to be in the front pack when the safety cars come out, to not lose a minute and a half by one of the safety cars sliding in between you. So it's going well. These guys have worked really hard. Patrick and Joe, you know, they've raised this money for the last 4 years. As you know, it's a great story, and this is a dream for them. It's a dream for me to join them, and we're just going to keep pushing and try to keep our minds on what the focus is, which is just to keep putting laps in and be smart.
Earlier on, Pat did a great lap with a great lap time, a great stint with a great lap time. You advise him not to be too pushy. What do you think is the trickiest part for him at night now?
The trickiest part is to put out everything out of his mind about the extracurricular media, what people think and say, just go out and drive. He can do it. We tested at Misano. There was no one on the track, and that guy can put in the laps. But, of course, he has a lot of people pulling at him all different directions. And so it's really about just keeping him focused and letting him do what he knows how to do.
So what is the plan for you now? You will have some rest, of course, but when will you be back in the car?
I haven't had a chance to discuss that yet. I'm ready to go back in. I just need to get some dry clothes on. Not really ready for any sleep right now, so I'll get a little bit of dinner and a massage and be ready to go back in.
Thank you.
Dinner and a massage. Regular service for the number 1 Audi. Jeremy, somebody was asking earlier, why is the number 47 car, that's the one they spotted, being fueled from the far side rather than the near side here? And that would be a legacy of not being built specifically for Le Mans, I would imagine, because a lot of circuits being clockwise, particularly if you're racing in American Le Mans series, you'd be fueled from the other side because that would be closer to the pit wall. I would have thought. I can't think of any other reason why you would design a fuel system to get on the far side. Thoughts?
No, certainly in IndyCar racing, certainly they have refueling systems on both sides of the cars for the left or right-handed circuits. So they will change that. It's a fairly major job. Well, it's not a major job, but it's a chore to change the fueling system from one side to the other, but it can be done. Sports cars, you've only got the driver on one side, and you know it's there's a whole bunch of reasons of where the refueling system is placed. It really doesn't make that much difference in terms of how the fuel is fed or the time, because it's from a gantry across the top, and it's yeah, I mean, if it makes us even a second or so, I'd be surprised. I don't think it really does do that, because the fuel comes over and down through the. I'm getting tied up here, aren't I?
I know.
It doesn't make
any difference, but it's just the way the cars have been designed, whether they've been specifically designed for Le Mans, as clearly Audi's car has, because that's their main focus, or for racing elsewhere, as a lot of other cars will have. One other thing, Mark, asking on Twitter, Joe Evans saying, can anyone who has the right car, right money and right license take part in Le Mans? And the answer is, yeah.
Well, yeah, you have to have the right license. You have to have the correct license. So you've got to have done a certain amount of racing in certain categories to earn that FIA International license to race at Le Mans. But
this year you had 92 applications for 56 places at Le Mans, well, 55 in effect, because
cars. Entrance, I presume we're talking about licensing.
But talking about entries, cars. I mean, and you know, the ACA will only accept 55 of those, plus one for Garage 56. As it happened this year, the hydrogen project didn't come off, so Pro Sport were permitted to take that place. But that means, you know, almost 40 people, 40 teams were turned down, so you have got to have proved yourself for the ACO selection committee.
I think
you're invited to race at Le Mans.
I think the thinking was specifically drivers, and yes, absolutely. In fact, we talked about this earlier during the week when Adrian Newey came here a few years ago, the Red Bull designer, and said, you know, why Le Mans? Why have you come here? You've done historic racing and so on, but what's the big appeal? And he said, well, they're not going to let me race the Indy 500, they're not going to let me race the Monaco Grand Prix, but they're going to let me race here, so I'm damn well going to. And that's the whole point of it. Since time immemorial, in fact, the very first race, it was gentlemen motoring enthusiasts who brought their newfangled automobiles here to try and prove that they weren't all eccentric nutters. And whether or not they've been supported by factories, gentlemen drivers have been a very big part of sports car racing, and not just this race. and remains so to this day. And one of the troubles with single-seaters that we don't have in sports car racing is that drivers have to find a budget. In sports car racing, often drivers bring a budget that they have earned themselves or that is family money. And so it has a bedrock of wealthy participants who can help to keep the cars on the road.
Well, you had 41 rookies here this year, half of whom are gentlemen, so we can assume that answers your Twitter's question that, you know, 20 of those drivers have never raced at Le Mans before. They are bronze drivers, that means they're the gentleman drivers, and they are here. The ACO hasn't invited them personally, but the car they're in has been invited, and that is your way of getting in.
The key is having the right license, having driven to an acceptable standard in other classes to get your FIA license up to International B or International A or whatever it is that the standard is that is required. So you can't just rock up with a checkbook and go, yeah, give us a go. Right. You've got to prove that in fact you're not a dangerous liability.
We've got the only rookie in the LMP1 category is Luca Di Grassi, who has a massive amount of experience. Of course, that's why he was hired by Audi to drive one of its R18 e-tron Quattros, but he's the only one, as I say, in the top class that is a rookie.
And has already won for Audi at Sao Paulo at the end of last year. Talk about we've got a yellow.
Kazuki is catching him, I think, basically. There's only less than 3 seconds between the two Toyotas on track. Number 8 car with which we're on board here, Stefan Sarrazin, is only about 2.5 seconds ahead of Kazuki Nakajima, who was rocking along behind there in car number 7.
Yeah, we've got the Krone Racing Ferrari, the green and black Ferrari as it is now, stopped between Arnage and Porsche Curves at Marshall's Post 121. So just have to watch that for a moment, make sure it's not going to bring out a 5th safety car.
We go back down to the pit lane shortly and have a chat with Oliver Jarvis.
Oliver Jarvis, it's been a little bit of an exciting ride for you in your last stint. We saw that dramatic puncture. Just tell us what happened.
Yeah, a tough last stint. Car was going well, but unfortunately exiting karting corner, I passed an LMP2, and he obviously didn't know I was there, and he pulled out to overtake a GT and sideswiped me, and he damaged the right rear tyre. I didn't know it was flat, so I continued through the last 2 chicanes, kept it flat down the straight, and as I braked for turn 1, just lost the car. Unfortunately, it happened in the worst place possible because it's a long way back from there.
No, it definitely is. Is the car all right now? There's no other damage to the car?
No, we had to pull it in to repair the side panel, but apart from that, it seemed to be running well. But you know, we lost 2 laps, which is frustrating because we were right in there with a shout winning.
Well, it's still a long way to go, so we wish you lots of luck. Thank you.
Right, we've got safety car number 5 out for that Krone car that stopped. So note that down, Jeremy. 7 reds and 5 safety cars, and we haven't even got to midnight.
Yeah, that's a shame. Tracy Krone, unfortunately, has got the car stuck out at...
And there it is.
Indianapolis, is it?
Yeah, he's gone off again.
Who is that?
Who's on board that at the moment? Is it Tracy?
Well, he's facing the wrong way, isn't he? So that has looped around. That is Tracy Krone. 121 is the left-right, second and third corners.
In Porsche Curves.
By, in fact, on the right-hand side of your picture is the Piste Alain Prost. A great kart circuit, as fellow Page and Moy Autosport travellers will remember. So just time to say hello to dodgy, dangerous Dave Ryan and all the others. So it looks from here, Mark, we can see most of the bits of that car. Do you think he's just
he's
lost the engine?
He's stuck in the gravel there, you can see.
He is,
what little bit of gravel there is, that rear wheel's firmly in there.
I was thinking that was grass, but from your viewpoint, it does look much more gravelly.
Could be gravel, could be grass.
Who can tell? Oh, where's the remote? Telly's trying to turn itself off.
Take my leave here in a moment, but before I do that, before that, I'm going to have a chance here to talk about shout out to Kira McAndrew, who's 11 years old. She wants to know how to race at Le Mans. Sorry, Kira, we've got to go to a commercial break. We'll try and get back to you later on. Thanks for the message.
pit stop for the number 41. Ooh, Greaves Motorsport Zytek Nissan. What's going on with that left rear corner? Something loose, modesty panel. And they were just checking to make sure, looking under the car. That looks like it was a regular pit stop for... who's in the 41? Oh, which page is that on now? Has that moved again? Oh, here it is. Tom Kimber-Smith now in that Caterham car. And there is the Krone Racing garage.
Well, the car's disappeared from where it was. So,
it's been towed, hasn't it?
yeah,
Nick Johnson waiting for it to come back in. We are under safety car conditions, which gives us a chance just to get back to Kira McAndrew. 11 years old, already racing cars, wants to know how to get into endurance racing. Well, Kira, actually... First of all, go and have a look at safeisfast.com, the FIA website, which will give you a few ideas about driving and managing yourself and your career and how to handle yourself. I suggest contacting @Gearbox Girl. Now, that's Shay Adams. She's running pit road here for Radio Le Mans. Based in Florida, she's a former Gearbox kart racer. Her dad, Bill Adam, long-time sports car and endurance racer and broadcasting friend of mine. She might have some good ideas. Essentially, get as much time as you can in go-karts, and then look at starting in something like Radicals, a good cheap way of exploring two-seater sports car racing, downforce, speed, and if you like it, then the path will open up, especially for something like Radicals, Mark Cole, because it sort of leads you into any number of different sports car classes.
Very good advice,
if you want to be Formula 1 world champion, go single-seaters. If you want to earn a living as a driver, ignore the potential of you being the 0.001% and go into sports car racing. I heartily suggest you follow your heart on that one.
And if you're a gamer, follow the example of Jan Mardenborough.
Indeed.
That's what the Nissan Academy is all all about. You know,
and if you're a Tom gamer, get yourself down here to Le Mans next year, Tom. Stop watching on the telly.
There is a lot of opportunity.
There's no advantage to us, no advantage to anyone else. It's all even. I'm just getting some info on pace.
So that's Kyle Wilson-Clark just giving advice to his number 2 crew there. Tom Christensen on board that car at the moment, still leading the race, and he's got a 1-lap lead. We've completed 135 laps just after midnight, and
yet another spin for the number 70 Labra Corvette, I'm afraid, and again up at the Dunlop Bridge where the nose was ripped off it this morning.
And this is under a safety car.
This time Manuel Rodriguez, and I'm not entirely uncertain that he wasn't in the queue that just left the pit lane. Mind you, of course, he's been sat there for 10 minutes, so his tyres are probably mahogany. So there you go. 15 hours left. That means we've had some. Audi leads its sole healthy remaining car. Undelayed is a lap ahead of the Toyotas that chase.
And look at 16th place.
Yep. Number 1 car coming back up the order. LMP2 class leader is now 9th, 8th overall. Rodolfo Gonzalez ahead of Olivier Plan. Jan Mardenborough still doing a great job. 10th place for him. 3rd in the class. GTE Pro. Rob Bell's Aston ahead of Darren Turner's Aston, the car that started on pole in that class, and Mark Lieb's Porsche. They're in a little group of their own, separated by the first of our, 5 safety cars. In the GTE AM class, there is your leader, the 88 Proton Felbermayr Porsche. Although it's not called Proton Felbermayr this time, it's the Proton competition car. Paolo Roberti up in that, ahead of Patrick Dempsey and Jean-Carl Vernet, with Lorenzo Caze and Matt Griffin. Close battle. All those 5 lead cars on the same lap. Griffin's off the lead lap of that AM class. And behind them, cars, excuse me, I'm halfway through one of Mark Cole's legendary Kit Kats, and it's not allowing for good speech.
I think you meant the legendary Mark Cole Kit Kats. Yeah.
Behind them are the remaining cars that are running in the field. We've just seen the number 28 car, that's the Gulf Racing Middle East car, return to the track and now back to the pit road. It has completed 21 laps, of which at least 2 were in laps and 2 were out laps, so not many racing laps at all. And we have had 3 cars, well, 2 cars officially withdrawn.
Good against car 3. Good job. Repeat, I was trying to talk to you. I just heard against Toyota. Please repeat. Safety car line still on. Copy, Tom. Yeah, pace is good against car 3, and pace is good against the 2 Toyotas. All okay, all okay. You're doing well.
Well, interesting, he has to ask his team on the pit wall how is my pace doing in the race. Martin, very interesting just to look at Marcel Fassler, who at the moment is some 12 laps down after the problems they had, having to change the flywheel sensor, wasn't it? They've had to change eventually. The next car he's going to pass is Natasha Gashnang. She's in the third of the Morgans, running in P2 in 15th. And once he gets past Natasha, unlacks himself from her. Natasha, of course, cousin of Sebastian Buemi. So I wonder if she waves to Sebastian every time he goes past in the Toyota.
I want to ask her, because there is a bobsledder who is also called Gashnang, and whose biog says that she was born in the same village. Now, you know, you never like to assume too many of these things, but I wonder if she does have a sister who is a bobsled skeleton athlete. Anyway, that's for another day. Probably in a, well, I was going to say a colder day, but actually, do you know what? This is not far off winter weather here we've got this weekend. Yeah. Safety car lights will go off towards the end of this lap, and the safety car will come in. There's some very unusual returns to the pit road of safety cars.
At the end of this lap. Yes, copy that.
Good.
So Stefan Sarazan just replying there, and Stefan has got...
speaking for all of us and the whole audience.
Nakajima's right on his tail, 2 seconds behind him when they release the cars. They are 1 lap. There's 2 Toyotas 1 lap behind Tom Christensen, but they are another lap ahead of Luca de Grassi and 2 laps ahead of the best of the Rebellions. Danny Watts now on board the HPD Straka, the Straka Honda, and he took it over from the gentleman driver in that car, who's Nick Leventis, and of course Nick not up to the pace of Danny and Johnny Kane, so dropping back a little bit in the order, back to 7th, but I think Danny will soon claw that back. He's 1 minute 51 behind Nico Prost, and then comes Ricardo Gonzalez in 8th place, best of the P2s, and it's still those 2 Morgans, 1-2 in that class, although Olivier Pla, who led it from the start, has dropped down to 2nd place behind his teammate, although they have both had the same number of pit stops, I think. Yep.
Somebody was asking about the hybrid system while we're on board with the Toyota. We talked about the 7 major braking areas, although the entry to the Porsche car is not a major braking area. Anyway, we'll move on past that. 7 designated braking zones where you can charge your system. I want to know, like Formula 1, is it then released by a button? Well, it's certainly manually released by the driver. Unlike Formula 1, in the Audi, because the drive goes to the front wheels, making it momentarily 4-wheel drive, they can't release it until they're doing over 120 kilometers an hour. In the Toyota, you can release it at any speed off a corner or out of an instance, a braking recharging instance, and basically for as long as the power lasts, you get about another 300 horsepower in the Toyota, making it roughly an 800 horsepower car for a few seconds. And from the Williams flybridge system in the Audi, they get what, 190, 200-ish horsepower, so that goes to the front wheels. Toyota drivers were saying, though, that their whole ethos with the hybrid is not to change the way the driver drives, and so it has been, safety car doesn't appear to be coming in very much this lap, does it?
No.
So it has been, they predominantly use it once they've got out of sort of 1st and 2nd gear off a corner, and when they're going quicker to then lunge by a car on which they are catching. So they don't use it bang right from the word go. They tend to use it at a slightly higher speed. So you imagine pretty much where the Audis are coming in anyway. Safety cars out. Q is going by the pit lane, so the pit road is closed. 3rd car in the LMP2 class, the number 42 Boost Motorsport car, is waiting to go.
And we've just had another spinner, Martin, the JMW Motorsport Dunlop Ferrari in the hands of Prince Abdulaziz Turki Al Faisal, who crashed that car, of course, on Wednesday. He's just had a spin at Dunlop. Lights out on the safety cars now. So
well, they're not, though.
Well, that's what we're being told by race control.
They have been ordered to go out, and they will go out of their designated spots. All the clanking and banging you can hear, by the way, is Liz Halliday coming in with beers. That's not going to help us to stay awake, is it?
Not for us, of course.
No, indeed. That's for
everybody else sitting around.
Our friend Sebastian, who's in from the pit lane for a while, because apparently it's got cold, and or the cameramen have gone for dinner.
A bit of both. It's very chilly, though.
And it's a wonderful Soissons says 64, which is the year the French Foreign Legion was formed.
Well, in which case, I'm afraid, if we're going to mention 1664, good evening, Wing Commander, and the rest of the crew. Hello to Squadron Leader Toad and the 1664 Squadron, a fabulous chopper bicycle display team that fans of Beer Mountain and many others will remember.
But even better, I saw International Rescue, 6 of them in their Tracy family suits.
Excellent.
And they were knocking back beers too, which is something you never got on Thunderbirds on television.
Ah, well, that's because they're off duty. So we are waiting for the safety cars to pull in. As I said, we've had some very ambitious lunges for the pit lane, because obviously the safety car driver isn't aware that the teams have got televisions, radios and communication. Want to catch everybody by surprise, and very nearly had off a Corvette that was heading down the pit road at the time. So I think perhaps we'll have a little bit more of a regulation safety car peel off now. We're getting to the sort of area at Arnage where a safety car will peel off. Out of Indianapolis. Let's stay with this Toyota. Oh, Olivier, stay with the Toyota. I don't want to see a man in a mask. I want to see the restart. Here we go. We're going green at the start-finish line. We could have gone green with the Toyota, but no, now we pick it up. Now he's on the KERS. I beg your pardon. Now he's on the hybrid button. But it works the same way as he blasts past these GT cars.
Now this is what's difficult in some of these restarts that we find halfway through the races. He's been restarted in the middle of a clump of GT cars all racing themselves. You can see another LMP car up there in front. It's just a huge mixture of speeds and cornering power. So it is very tricky, especially in the dark when everybody's getting a little bit tired. There you can see those lights flashing, trying really hard to make sure everyone can see him. The road just starts to narrow here a little bit. Very, very dark on this portion of the circuit. You can see the braking boards there, the blue lights, shows where to turn in.
Yeah, just think Mike Rockenfeller 2 years ago.
Oh, God, I'd rather not. That was horrendous.
Yeah. So,
classic thing about how difficult it is to pass the other cars on the circuit and what can happen.
Well, it's worth pointing out those bright blue boards, because during the daylight, of course, there'll be marker boards, 200 metres, 100 metres, 50 metres to the corner. Can't see them at night, so they're highly reflective, just like normal road signs. And down into Indianapolis, they're not actually used by the drivers or to tell the drivers where they have to turn. Drivers can generally work that out for themselves at this level. And down into Arnage. And again, markers on the side of the track. And why are there so many markers down here? Because this is a public highway and it's to stop members of the general public driving off into the trees rather than our highly trained racing drivers who tend to avoid that mostly.
And I really hope we're going to get to see this on board. Oh, I was going to say, to watch him come through the Porsche curves without anybody there would have been fantastic.
Here we go. We'll take this
brilliant.
Audio
absolutely
only.
Flat through the left there. We're going to go to a commercial break, but stick with this as long as you can.
All right, my lover. Apparently, Liz Halliday, you sound like you're from Cornwall.
What?
Just like that famous Cornish racer, Dindo Capello.
I'm sorry. That's a new one for me. I've had nearly everywhere else, but I've never had that.
Cornwall? No, California.
Ahead of you, very clear ahead of you.
Well, now, you might wonder why drivers needs a head up to find out what's directly in front of him. Can you recognise what it is from those two red lights, boys and girls? No, nor can he.
Yeah, I know it is very helpful for them to know if it's a very, very slow car that they're approaching sometimes.
Now, people think this is what our commentary booth looks like. If you follow Martin Haven, my Twitter line, you'll see that our commentary booth looks anything like this. This is race control. Daniel Poissonneau there. And in the centre, in the white shirt with the goatee beard, is our race director with the head of the FIA, the Monsieur le Président Jean Todt, looking over his shoulder. So Eduardo Freitas will very definitely be keeping the safety cars under control for a moment or two. That's race control. They have all the CCTV cameras, the permanent cameras around the track here, and all the TV camera feeds on which to base their judgments. And they will use all of that information, whatever they're getting from the corner workers, whatever they're getting from reports on the track as well, and their own experience, to try and decide how to keep this race running safely. And they will be there in those chairs from start to finish. There will be no rest for our race directors.
I'm going to give a little shout out to James Bulkeley. Did I say that right?
Probably not. Is he from Cornwall?
Lying in Walton Hospital in Liverpool, watching on your laptop. Well, hi there, and I'm sorry that you're in hospital. I hope you're having a lovely time.
I hope you're getting better. Marcel Fassler still working his way back up the order. Of course, now every position is going to be harder and harder to get. Has he just gone by Natasha Gatchnang? Was that the 40 car?
No, he's still 3 minutes 24 behind her, but she will be the next car that he will take for position. She's in 15th place, he's 16th.
Well, he's lapping 3:29s, she's lapping 3:58, so he's doing 30 seconds a lap more than her, basically. So it'll take him at that rate of closing 4 or 5 laps, 6 laps,
Exactly right.
But then, of course, cars will go in and out of the pits at various different times, so he will get a couple of gimmies as cars in front of him go into the pits. Oh, I wonder what the big red bat phone's for. Is that line to the Kremlin? That is probably the emergency phone from a marshal's posts if they need to ring the big bosses to find out what's going on. 73 wasn't our lead Corvette. 74 was our lead Corvette. They were running nose to tail, 28th to 29th. Jan Magnussen's dropped a couple of spots to Kamui Kobayashi's Ferrari and the Aston Martin of Bill Oberlin. Words I never thought I would hear myself say in the same sentence. BMW. Oh yeah, Aston Martin and Bill Oberlin. Sounds good.
Yeah, it does work.
He's just on loan for the weekend, make no mistake. He'll be back to BMW next time we see him. Same with Oliver Turvey. Oliver Turvey on loan from McLaren, and that guy, Oliver, still running a solid third in P2 in the Zytek, having a really, really good race. Only cars ahead of him, the 2 Morgans, Gonzalez and Pla, who've been swapping places.
And of course that Jota car with Turvey on board, and Simon Dolan won the extraordinarily wet 3-hour ELMS race at Silverstone earlier, first race of the European Le Mans Series, so they already went to bat and came up with a big result. And Turvey, I was watching him in the drivers' parade yesterday, and he probably won't thank me for this, but genuinely giggling like a schoolboy, having so much fun.
How can you not in the parade for Le Mans? It's fantastic.
But you know, when you come from sort of racing in single-seaters, Formula 3 or DTM, maybe you get the sort of mass fans that you do here at Le Mans occasionally, but there's not many other categories of racing you come from, I guess, unless you're an IndyCar driver at the Indy 500, where there is just this massive crowd participation in everything.
But the fans are different, I think. Le Mans fans are a different sort of fan than you would find at a DTM race or at an IndyCar race, because it's 24 hours, and it's the biggest 24-hour race in the world. This is the biggest sports car race in the entire world.
And they come for a whole week, and boy, do you know it.
Oh yes, and they've usually spent the last 3 days before the parade getting ready by drinking a lot of beer. So it's very exciting.
We're on board the 73 Chevrolet Corvette. Antonio Garcia on his outlap after a pit stop. They're still a long way down the pro order. In fact, the pro sandwich we had, the Aston Martin, the Porsche sandwich with the 2 Aston Martins, got a bit lopsided because the 2 Aston Martins are now 1 and 2. Rob Bell from Darren Turner and Mark Lieb and Timo Bernhardt in the 2 factory Porsches are now 3rd and 4th in that category.
Well, that sort of second-third battle has really flip-flopped with pit stops, and they're not on the same strategy with all the different safety cars and yada yada yada.
Well, all 4 cars have made 8 stops now. So,
but some of them are sort of 4, 5, 6 laps apart, and so as a result, one will jump into the lead as one stops, and it'll flip-flop back.
And Liz, what we've seen is the Porsches are eating tyres up more quickly than the Astons, being rear engine.
Yeah, and I think that does make sense in just the design of the cars, and I think from what they were saying earlier, that's one of their downfalls. Also, what's interesting though is I expected it to be more of a Ferrari and Aston battle. I didn't expect it to be Aston, Porsche maybe as much. And not to say that I didn't feel they were capable, because the drivers are phenomenal in those Porsches, but I think we just didn't really know. We weren't sure, and I think they were maybe a little worried. They were driving the 2013 cars. They've not had a lot of time in those cars, and certainly not a lot of time in the dry. But what we're seeing now is they really are quite fast, and they were saying when I interviewed Mark Lieb earlier that in a straight line they actually have an advantage over the Astons, which is surprising.
I don't know if it's the price or
Some vibration he's talking about.
I thought we might get an answer from Lena Gage, but I think that was a sort of rhetorical radio report. I am getting some vibration. Didn't necessarily
in the front, I think
require. Speaking through a fish tank probably wasn't helpful. That was our race leader, Tom Christensen, the familiar voice of the Danish 8-time winner.
Another hero here in the pits, Yves Courage, visiting all his friends at Toyota at the moment. Of course, Hugh de Schoonhout runs that team, even Hugh being pals for many, many years. And Yves Courage, all those wonderful Cougars and then Courages, he built and raced at Le Mans over the year, a real Le Mans hero.
Nice to see him here. I raced a Courage in 2007, which was really cool, and Yves Courage was there, and fantastic to get to know him. And actually he asked me to do the start, which was pretty cool. So it was really fun being a part of that team.
No wonder you like him.
No, he was lovely. He was very nice.
Can we just return to the pro thread, because Ferrari led from the start really last year, didn't they? And look at them at the moment, running there in 5th. And how many laps down is Jimmy Brunet? He's I think 1 lap down, 2 laps down maybe on Rob Bell now.
And the other thing is, in 6th position now is Tommy Milner in the lead Chevy Corvette. And who thought they would be behind or between the top 2 Ferraris? Certainly not them, and pretty definitely not Ferrari either. So Ferrari are really underperforming. The team that dominated this race from the front all the way through last year. How quickly 12 months can change the balance of power.
But what have we not had much of in all of practice and qualifying? Consistency in the dry. We've not had any of that. And now that the wet conditions have gone away, the mixed conditions have gone, we've got dry running in cool conditions, which we've not had all week, and suddenly Ferrari's not quite as powerful as we thought they would be.
Well. Listen, I had a quick question, and we'll see it a lot during the pit stops. Somebody asked, Rory Burnside wants to know, who are the people scanning barcodes in the pit lane? What are they doing? Well, the answer is tyres. Pretty much they all look the same, right? They're black. Okay, they might have some grooves on, but wet weather tyres, both sets of wet weather tyres have grooves on, and all 4 different types of slick tyres that both the manufacturers produce, or 4 for Michelin, 3 for Dunlop, they're round and black. So you have a barcode on to tell the manufacturer and to tell the engineer, and so he can tell the team what the tyre is and what compound it is, because they work at different temperatures. For instance, now in the cool of the night, or on a damp track earlier on, as we heard from our Michelin man earlier on, you'll use a much softer rubber that will survive at the lower track temperature because it won't overheat. In the heat of the day, you'll have to use a harder rubber because it can then withstand the G-force loadings much more substantially. So the barcode very simply tells you exactly what the tyre is. And for somebody like Michelin or Dunlop and all the other tyre manufacturers who are often here but just don't happen to be this year, it also tells you when it was made and when you have to use it by, because tyres, like everything else in a racing car, have a finite life, and if they extend their shelf life, I believe it's usually around 6 months. Any beyond that, the rubber compound starts to change and go off, and it's what it was designed to do, its performance changes, and therefore it's not usable, so it will end up going back to the scrap heap.
Number 2 Audi here coming into the pit lane. We saw the team getting ready for them to have what we hope is a routine pit stop. We'll see. Tom Christensen has been behind the wheel for an extremely long time. I think they were trying to do 5 stints, which would just about be within the limited time, or the amount of time a driver is allowed to be in a car, which is still 4 hours, unless that's changed.
4 hours.
It's always been 4
hours and only 6.
Yeah. So I'm guessing they're going for, if they can fit just barely a 5 stinter in on these tyres, they would be going for
well picked up, Liz, because Nicholas Gruber from Michelin said he hoped they might go for 5 stints during the night on tyres. But there's not much advantage if the driver can't quite make 5 stints in 4 hours. Then if you can have a driver change, you're not losing any time by changing tyres, are you?
Well, I have a feeling if they were bang on 45 minutes per stint, then it would just about work. But they're going to have it literally timed to the second, because any second over that, they can't risk it. They can't risk being chucked out for that.
So, Tom Christensen, race leader, just coming in for a splash and dash, no more than that, no tyre change, no driver change, no service, just maybe a quick windscreen clean, returns to the track ahead of Toyota's Stefan Sarazan, Toyota's Kenjo Nakajima, of course, son of Satoru Nakajima, great Japanese Formula One driver of the 80s. Luca Di Grassi in 4th, and Andrea Bellicci, Nico Prost in the 2 Rebellion Lola Coupe. Toyotas again, remember Toyotas, so we have Toyota 2nd, 3rd, 5th and 6th at the moment, and then Danny Watts playing catch-up in the HPD Straka after his teammate Nick Leventis just cost him a little bit of time. The gentleman driver obviously slower, and then in 8th place, great performance still by Jack Nicolet's Morgan team in those Oak Morgans, and they are running a solid 8th and 9th, leading P2.
Well, listen, we talk a lot about the cars, but look at some of this. This is in the paddock. This is the media centre for Audi, or the media hospitality centre, one of their tiny hospitality units. They've got some massive, massive ones, all the manufacturers have here at the circuit, because, of course, as well as being a great motor race, it's a great opportunity to bring guests and customers to a fantastic event and really wine and dine them and make them feel very good about themselves. I was with some SRT guys last night, including a whole bunch of Viper owners from America, including one family who have 63 Vipers.
Wow.
I know. I said, I don't believe there's 63 Vipers.
I didn't know there were 63. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there are. They have plenty.
You got to really love Vipers for that.
Their local Viper dealer took them on a guided tour of Jay Leno's garage, and the boss of SRT was going, "Are you mad? They'll find out that other cars are available."
That's fantastic.
At this point,
stop and go penalty being issued to the number 93 car, and that is the SRT Viper.
Oh no, just as we talk about them.
The rookie, for breaching the pit exit light, i.e. he shot the red light at the end of the pit lane. And that's a real shame for them. They were hoping to have a clean race, no penalties. It doesn't mean they're excluded. It just means he'll have to come back in, stop and go, but it will drop them a little further back down the order. There are the SRT guys, and there's your barcode. There's your tyre engineer reading what it says about the tyre. So all of the data in their data banks goes in, correlated to the use of the tyre, the manufacture of the tyre, what they expected from it, and what it actually produced. And of course, all that goes back in to developing the new tyres for next year, because as we heard, narrower tyres for the prototypes next year, same load, probably the same speed. Poor little tyre has to do even more work than before. Well, here are our SRT crewmen, funky helmets.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's like they're going motorbike racing.
Yeah, they do well. But they've got these little V-shaped front down there to show their goatee beards off nicely.
Obviously members of the Alexander Wirtz fan club.
And on that note, harsh.
There.
On behalf of Mr. Mark Cole, I would like to issue an apology to the Royal Marines, who were founded in 1664, along with the Kronenberg Brewery. The French Foreign Legion, the Arrivistes, didn't arrive until 1831. Live from Eurosport with more facts than you can wave a stick at, some of which may actually be verifiable later.
Well, I blame this all on Carlton. I mean, Carlton Kirby told me that, and I believe everything he says. I always have done.
I imagine that was while drinking. That doesn't seem like a great grounds for factual knowledge to me.
While drinking left, so I mean...
Oh dear. Yep. Are the pit cameramen trained wrestlers? Yeah, it is a bit arms and elbows, especially when you're around Dr. Gorgeous Patrick Dempsey. Ed Goddard says this race is so good I don't want it to end. Don't worry, you'll be praying for it to end eventually.
I know, we probably will be after we've been on air for a million hours.
Well, if we have many more safety cars, we'll all be taking ourselves out to be shot.
Greg Smith asked, saying that he loves our enthusiasm, but could we please not speak over the in-car radio?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
The problem is...
In fact, we don't know. We don't get any warning. They just start talking. So we're doing our best. We're sorry.
But we do try and talk over each other, of course, as well.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Just on a very serious note, David Richards has sent a message through asking just to pass this on to everybody. But most of you who've been with us all day will know we had a dreadful accident only a few minutes into the race, and Alan Simonson lost his life at Tertre Rouge when his Aston Martin crashed. And David Richards, the boss of Aston Martin, asked us to pass on to all fans and viewers the thanks of Aston Martin Racing for their support, and explained that Alan's parents did urge the team to keep racing in his honour, and this year's race is very much going to be run in memory of Alan by the team's organisers, fans, and hopefully all you viewers. So that's the line from Aston Martin. Thank you for that, David, and just brings back a somber note. Just we remember this shadow is going to hang over this year's Le Mans.
Well, I think we all heartily concur. As we said a little earlier, Joe Gartner was the last man to die in a race here at Le Mans. That was back in 1987, and I know some friends, very close friends of his, and that hurt never goes away. This is a sport that brings enormous joy to many, many people, and just occasionally it takes an enormous amount out of us as well, and it's very, very hard. You know, his family here, he leaves a wife and a baby daughter behind him, and it's a dreadful thing to happen, and unfortunately, yeah, the world keeps turning, and there are people who said, well, you know, you should pull out of the race, but at the specific request of his family, the Aston Martin team are doing what they can to make this, at least to somehow slightly honour the memory of Alan Simons. He's got a lot of friends in the field, he's got a lot of friends watching, he's got friends in the booth with us, with Damien Faulkner, who raced with and against him over the years, and it does take a lot for a team to pick themselves up when something like that has happened so early in the race, and to give it their all, because it's just a dreadful, dreadful situation. So,
and very hard for the drivers as well. I know a lot of these drivers are really struggling. It's very difficult to realise something like that has happened on the track that you're racing on at the same time, and you know, I know that everybody here will be racing with his memory and be racing for him, and I think that's what he would have wanted.
And in fact, a lot of drivers I know who have Twitter followers, they will have realised that drivers who were in the cars earlier on didn't find out until 3, 4, 5 hours into the race that the accident had, in fact, claimed Alan's life. So our very, very serious and sincerest condolences to his family, to his friends, and hopefully some joyful memories as well of him. You know, in the end, you try and remember the good times, and he had many of them. He was leading the race, doing what he loved to do, having set the fastest lap time with the car, and doing the very best he could in his life. And so that's the way we'll remember him. And the Aston Martin team, as David Richards said, will continue to race on in his memory, and with him very much in their hearts and their thoughts.
I do feel as if we should have a minute of silence at some point for him, as our...
Yeah.
I just feel that would be correct.
Car off in the gravel, as that is... Is that the 32 Lotus? You see now, cars change at night because they have reflective panelling that doesn't always reflect the shape of the car. We're not being told who it is, just where it is, which is at Mulsanne Corner. Massive gravel trap there now to protect the cars from going onto the roundabout. And car 34, so it's not, in fact, the second Lotus.
That is, yeah, the number 34 car is the Oreca of Neerhausen, who in fact had just done his 2 fastest sector times before that, which may indicate why he's just gone off in the gravel.
It's just a fraction too fast.
Perhaps. But he looked like he'd taken out some bollards as well, and it was pretty good off, so we'll wait to see where we are with that.
Well, you know, it's a very, very long straight, and it did slightly appear to... Oh, my goodness, there's the corner. Of course, they are a little bit more well-trained than that, and he's spent a lot of time on track. Well, he's done a lot of laps already in the race, Patrick Niederhauser. So that all-Swiss team, there is the car being towed out of the gravel trap. Hard standing, this dark area here is tarmac, so hopefully once he gets there, he should get it fired up and then spread gravel all the way back to the pits.
Yeah, I was about to say, the unfortunate thing about that is as he comes back, he's going to spread gravel across the circuit. No matter how hard he will obviously try not to go on the line, sometimes you have to. There's no way around it, and that's what happens at Le Mans. The longer you get into a 24-hour race, the more there is just debris all over the circuit that becomes part of the racing line, and you just have to embrace it and bring it into how you drive the car.
Marcel Fassler in the pit lane.
Yeah, he has still not got past Natasha Gashnang, and in as much he hasn't unlapped himself from her yet, so he is still 11 laps behind race leader Tom Christensen. We just saw, didn't we, Luca Di Grassi make his stop.
Lucas Di Grassi.
Yep. At the moment, both those Audis up front, the number 2 and the number 3 car, have made 13 stops against Toyota's 12 and 11. So we're starting to see the benefits of that extra 3 litres that Toyota as a petrol runner are being given.
Except they're not in front yet. So it's going to play out over... well, I mean, it has to play out over 24 hours, and that was their chance, really, wasn't it, to try and make that work. Lots of people asked about the Audi pit stops. You see the, quote, driver helper opening the door and swapping over 2 bottles. It is a pressurized system with a drinks bottle. At least one of them is. Not sure that both of them are. They may be. I have to say, I haven't asked that specific question. We might get a chance maybe if Liz or Jeremy return from the pit lane or go down to the pit lane just to ask that question. But certainly it's a drink system. Normally, the oil and water systems are also very highly pressurized in these cars because the temperatures they have to sustain, but they're not normally filled up inside the cockpit. You don't want either the oil or the water system leaking into the driver's enclosure, so they're kept separate. And the 88 car is in the gravel, and that is Gianluca Roda. Very good.
Oh, don't try and get
gentleman
out.
driver. He's dug himself in a little bit, and he is down at Marshall's post 76, which is also... Oh, he's not down at Marshall's post 76. Where's he gone off there? Well,
There's
more
bollards out as well. I wonder...
That's a load of bollards.
Wow, it is.
Back up, open, wider, wider, wider. Dunlop. 13, 14, 15, Dunlop. Oh no, it's right. It's the S's.
It's on the way to Tete Rouge.
That's the end of the S's.
How
indeed.
has he done that? There is a
change for the lead in the class as well.
There is a big bump there as you come out of the S's, a big bump, and I wonder if he's just lost that.
Gianluca Roda was the leader in the Felbermayr Proton Porsche. It is now the Dempsey Del Piero Proton Porsche that takes the AM lead. Dr. Gorgeous is Dr. Leader.
Wow, he's going to be loving that right now. Very exciting. I think a lot of his fans are going to be going mental in the stands right now.
I'm very much fear we're going to get safety car number 6 because of this, unless they can get unless they can get a little tractor in and tow him out quickly, because this is a very tricky place. It's one corner after Tracy Krohn's accident, isn't it? And,
I see a tractor coming. There it is. Yep. Lights in the background. The tractor is coming down. We have a Boy Scout coming in. That's very handy. Classification after 9 hours. Merci bien. Super. See, we're very well looked after here. Girl Guides, Liz, and Boy Scouts. Absolutely.
Wow.
Hey.
Don't get that everywhere, do you?
Indeed you don't. So now what they'll be doing is looking for, hopefully, the very obvious place tow hook so they don't rip the front off the car.
Well, the trouble is the tow hook's about 3 feet under the gravel at the moment, so you're going to have to dig down to it.
Well, normally they're not. Normally they are just below headlight height, and you can see it there.
I can see it
protruding out of the thing, because if you have them down at the splitter, they tend to get in the way a lot.
And this is going to put even more gravel on the circuit. What a mess it's going to be. I hope if we do get a safety car, I hope they're going to clean the circuit up a little bit. We can only hope.
Well, you've got to say thank you to the hard-working marshals. I tell you what, they have been really hard-pressed this week. It's been a very fraught time for them. 7 red flag incidents in 4 practice and qualifying sessions. This is our... Well, it's another incident. We've had 5 safety cars already, Mark, so we really don't want any more. We've still got 14.5 hours nearly to get through, so we've got nowhere near halfway yet.
And that's a pretty big number of safety cars at this stage in the race, because really, relatively, in a 24-hour race, we aren't very far in at all.
No.
It just seems like everyone's been up for hours.
Yeah, we've only got 6 Formula 1 Grand Prix left to go.
Jamie Campbell-Walter pitting there. I think he's still in the car, if I'm not mistaken.
That's him.
Looks like they're just going to do fuel and send him down the road, I think. Are they?
No, they
just
will
checking
normally...
the brakes there, maybe going to check tire pressures, just checking underneath the car. I think probably because there's so much debris on the circuit, perhaps he's run something over and he's just radioed in and said, guys, just have a quick look when I stop for fuel. Straight back out. Good pit stop.
Right-hand front headlights not on. They will have standard checks. They'll use a laser temperature gauge to measure brake and tyre temperatures as a matter of course, just to make sure that the telemetry's not missed anything. Right front headlight is on.
It is on.
Didn't look like it when it was under the lights.
But have you noticed that they're running these sort of rally spotlights right in the centre, in front of the central radiator? It looks quite retro, doesn't it, Liz?
It does look pretty cool, I think.
Got to have some CBA Super Oscars. I'm thinking, early 1970s 911s that did used to have separate spotlights on the bumper, didn't they?
And somebody did ask us on Twitter a little while ago, I'm afraid I can't remember who it was, so please tweet me back if you do, because I've had too many, asking if the lights on the race cars tires were better than your road car? And I would definitely say yes. Certainly on that car we just saw go past, the Aston Martin, and on the front-running LMP cars. And I think nowadays most of them will be a lot better. You'd be surprised how good the lighting is out there. You're still in the dark, you're still going a lot faster than you would on the road, but the lights are very, very good these days.
Well, it's all LED, of course, now, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, makes a huge difference. You're very right, Mark.
Just want to say hello to 12-year-old Harry Johnson, who's sitting up watching. Is it
hello,
past
Harry.
His bedtime? Quarter to 12, 20 to 12.
It's Le Mans weekend. You can't go to bed at 12.
No, I think Susie's letting him stay up. It's not a school night. Yeah, go for it, Harry. Enjoy your evening. Welcome back to 2013 Le Mans 24 Hours, 90th anniversary of the Le Mans race and the 30th anniversary of my first trip down to the south. If you've never been, how easy is it to get here? Well, you can phone a travel company. I came with Page & Moy. Other travel companies are available. They'll do an all-in package for you. You can come down, sleep in a coach or a field or whatever, and do it really on the cheap. To get into the circuit, €34 for a general admission ticket, and that's not per day, that's for a general admission ticket for all the days action here. So you can get in very cheaply, and you can do anything from real budget, bring a tent, come with some friends in a car, sleep in a field, in a hedgerow, whatever else, and sort of scale yourself up from there. It is very, very easy. Get in a car, go on the tunnel, go on a ferry, get to France, 4 hours from the coast. It is one of the most ludicrously easy major events of any kind to participate in. It's not like trying to get a ticket for the Grand Prix. It's not like trying to get into the Indy 500. It's about as difficult as getting into Sainsbury's. If you've never been and you're watching this for the first time and wonder what it's like, Mark, should they come?
Oh, yeah, if you leave now, you should be here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Well, no, I just get to watch the end.
Yeah.
I didn't actually mean that, but if you left now from the south of England before midnight, yes, you would be here easily in time for lunch and to watch the end of the race. But if you're thinking about coming next year, come next year.
Yep.
Don't sit and watch. There are so many people that come with a group of friends, and it gets bigger and bigger every year because it is the most fun you can have in a week. That's probably still legal in most states.
Just looking at the art car for this year's Le Mans, really fantastic design. I know Carlson thinks it looks a bit like a pizza, but actually it's a really interesting concept. I think this is the first time ever they've actually done an actual art car, not the race car, but a car that was designed of the shape of the LMP2, made all out of old road signs, which is really, really cool. There's a book of it that I've seen. I will dig up the artist's name. I'm afraid that my brain is failing because I haven't slept for a really long time.
Fernando Costa.
There we go, Fernando Costa. Thank you, Mark. But fantastic artist. I've had a look at his book, and really, really impressive, and a great idea. And I love the way the team has really embraced it, and as the helmets matching and everything. It's very cool. So I hope you'll enjoy seeing it.
Number 28 car in the garage, and it's not always a bad thing when cars are pulled back into the garage. We touched on earlier the fact you're only allowed 2 people working on any car at any time in the pit lane, so if you need anything doing at all, it goes back into the garage. For the number 28 car, the fact that people are even looking at it is quite a good thing, because it has done a total of 21 laps now.
76 car coming in then, IMSA Performance Matmut. This is their new car, or their newer car, 2012 spec. Apparently the other car's 2011 spec, which the team says is much easier to work on and much easier to dial in. But Raymond Norac, Christophe Bourret and Jean-Carl Vernet. Now, he was Peugeot's test driver for many years during that program, but would you believe has never raced here, so he's a rookie.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And we do have quite a few rookies here that have incredible racing talent that are here for the first time, and we've just seen on our screen, Race Control reports oil.
Pardon?
That might possibly have been...
My guess is the warning for the oil is what they're getting.
Stefan Sarrazin.
And in the Porsche curves, oh my, that's really not good at all.
That is the fastest changes of direction consistently on the circuit anywhere, the Porsche curves. And so that's really where you don't want it. We're on the second chicane on the Mulsanne straight. And there is a Ferrari 458, one of the fastest road cars money can buy, dusted off like it was in reverse gear by these prototypes.
Well, the car in front is a Toyota.
So. Indeed. Yeah. Well, it is now. And it's a hybrid. Second and third, the Toyotas, they were running fourth and fifth behind the top three Audis until Audi started to run into problems. One healthy Audi at the top of the field. Tom Christensen shares the car with Alan McNish.
Just seeing him exiting Mulsanne corner there. He'll soon be approaching the Porsche curves where we have the oil reported. I'm not sure exactly where it is. We've not seen any pictures of that, but really one of the worst places to have oil, especially at night as well.
Well, the next question, who might have dropped it?
Well, I don't know. We may find out if somebody comes in. It might not be beyond the bounds possibility. The 28 car came back in because of that. Stop-and-go penalty being awarded to car number 13 for speeding in the pit lane. That's the unlucky Rebellion car of Andrea Bellicchi, Matthias Besch and Kong Fu Chang. And it is Andrea Bellicchi who's at the wheel, so don't know if they changed last time round. Often the driver that didn't commit the offence leaving the pit lane is the one who has to serve it, because the guy who was coming in just came in a little hot and forgot to press the speed retarding button at the right time.
And
35 struggles to leave. We have had a couple of pit lane speeding incidents, haven't we?
Yeah, no, we have had quite a lot, especially in practice and qualifying, more so than you would have thought, really, because they all have a pit speed limiter. Normally, as you enter pit lane, you push the button, leave it there through a driver change, and that way, as you exit the pit lane, the pit limiter is already on, and then you push the button as you leave. So it seems like it should keep that from happening.
Well,
I'm
sure the radar guns are being properly calibrated. Anyway, Patrick Niederhauser in the number 34 Oreca that we were talking about a little bit earlier. He was in the top 6 battle in the LMP2 class, and that car has dropped right down the order. The race performance car, one of the majority of the LMP2 cars are running on Dunlop tyres. That race performance car, like I say, was up in the top half dozen. Shares with Michel Frey and Jeroen Blekemolen, but Niederhauser still on pit road, and it's been there for a long while now. It's made 13 stops compared to the average of 12 in the class. It's having a bit of a remedial work for something or other.
Just listen to the glorious sound of this V8 Vantage. Rob Bell, he's still the GP Pro class leader, and you can just really hear it. We did on the early ones, but it's gone now. But
just nearly hear it until they turn away from it.
Well, that's what they do to us, isn't it?
Yeah, yet again, it's not our decision what we see.
In comes the 71 car, fourth in category still. Jimmy Bruni bought that car. No, this is the 71 car, sorry. The other one, that's Tony Villander's car.
Liz, Tom Wilkinson on Twitter wanted to know, will we have women at Le Mans in the future? Well,
we've had them all the time.
Liz has raced here. We've got 2 in the race this weekend. Keiko Ihara, although her car hasn't done many laps and she hasn't been in it. We've got a Natasha Gachnang as well. We've had all women crews. We've had a number of women racing drivers. And in fact, we had a question earlier on from an 11-year-old girl who wanted to know how to get into sports car racing. I think
we told her.
We did. There's absolutely no reason at all why women can't be racing in sports car racing right at the top level. I mean, it's a great place to earn a living as a racing driver.
I think as long as you respect the fitness levels that it requires and you commit yourself to that, and there's no reason why women can't be successful, and we've seen women be successful. Yeah. I've had people saying, when are we going to see an all-women team in Le Mans? Well, we've had them before. We've had them twice, I believe, now, at least twice. And one of those recent occasions was in 2010. Natasha Gachnang, who's here today, was part of that team. It didn't go very well for them, if I'm honest. She ended the race with a fire in the car.
Yeah.
But it certainly has happened before, and I hope it happens again.
Well, in fairness, again, that was nothing to do with the girls. That was all to do with the newness of the Ford GT, which was A, not really fixed, and B, not really competitive. So, I mean, and neither of the Mark VDS Ford GTs actually fared really well at all. So
no, it certainly wasn't their fault.
It was, certainly no way to cast any blame for that on either of the driving crews, male or female. There was actually an email from a lady who, and I'm afraid now tweets, we get so many coming in, we're sort of skipping through them to try and cover as many interesting points as we can. I'm 62 years old, I would like to race at Le Mans. What is the greatest age of a Le Mans driver? Now, I would think in the modern era, you're right about on the extreme limit of kind of the oldest gentleman drivers, and there are female gentleman drivers as well, racing as well. So it's a term rather than, it's a bit like Hoover, it's a generic, okay? It's a bit like Armco. They may not be Armco barriers, we understand that, but it is the generic term. Mark is desperately finding, I would think, getting up towards 70, but probably not for a few years. Cars now are violently physical.
Especially the LMP cars, you really do need to have quite a bit of fitness to drive these cars, and to keep your mind on the game as well. You need to be very fit so that you aren't getting very tired. I think that's a big part of 24-hour racing, is that when your body is tired, your mind needs to still be fresh so that you don't start to make mistakes. And what people don't realize is how physical these cars really are. You know, even though you have the power steering, you reach a certain level of G-force and the power steering becomes sort of nondescript. It's not really there anymore, and these cars are reaching up to 4 Gs in an LMP1 car. That's about the same as an F1 car, not far off.
And it's also the relentless mental strain of constantly weaving your way through traffic, or having traffic constantly weaving its way past you, or both, if you're in, you know, the top GTs or the LMP2 cars, plus trying to pick your way through nighttime, plus just the endless hours of battering your brain gets. And no matter how much adrenaline you've got keeping you sharp, and it is the adrenaline that keeps your synapses firing, again, if your body can't take it, it drags your brain. Like your kids, it makes your brain dull. Your body can't take it.
Yeah, I'm going to propose to Jacques Nicolet as the oldest driver here.
In the field.
57 years old. The man from Monaco. He owns the... no, you're not. You're telling me...
No, I disagree.
Right, that was my proposal.
A driver who's over 60. I can't remember his name, but he's in the Murphy Prototypes car.
Oh, yes, he is.
And he's over 60. Yes, that's the one.
Indeed.
Our 3 times spinning in 1 lap friend.
I've got to say, if you're starting at 62, I would go and get yourself a nice 1-litre Mini 7 and go out and have a lot of fun racing people who are also paying for it themselves and who won't have you off into the boonies at the very possible moment. Realistically, if you're 62 years old, male or female, driving enough, unless you're very, very wealthy, to get your license up to Le Mans standards is going to be very tough, particularly if you've not got racing cars and history in them already. So, yeah, go out and have fun club racing and enjoy us by coming down and watch Le Mans.
Yes, of course, because in order to race at Le Mans, you do require an international B license. When you start racing, you start with a national B and have to work your way up through. So it's not something you could just jump into and say, right, I'm going to go and race at Le Mans. You do need to do enough races to acquire your international B license, and then to carry on keeping that license, you must race at an international race per year and prove that you've done it.
So, Mark Patterson, 61 years old, and a second place goes to Jacques Nicolet at 57 years old.
Yeah, I win.
But interestingly, both of them driving prototype cars, not the easier option GT cars.
Yeah, but lots more fun.
42 car, and then this is Luca Ordonez in the Greaves Zytek. This is one of the chosen cars. We've got the 2 Morgans and this car, the Nissan Academy cars, as the 3 factory-supported Nismo cars. And Luca Ordonez, of course, the first winner of the GT Academy, and made the jump from PlayStation Gamer straight into Le Mans, and has really done a great job, hasn't he?
Straight into Le Mans and onto the podium, in fact, finishing second in 2011. A fantastic effort, and a really great guy. I really enjoyed meeting Lucas when I was working on the US GT Academy. He's very, very professional. He always has been, and literally just got into a car straight off the video game and knew how to pedal it. It was one of those very rare people, similar to his co-driver, Jan Mardenborough, who's done the same. Terribly impressive. Oh, God, in a very tight shave there with the Porsche. I think the Porsche was trying to avoid the gravel and just swung out where he wasn't expecting him to.
That's Gianluca Roda, who didn't avoid the gravel just down here in the S's. We saw him a few laps ago, beached in the gravel. He was dragged out and changed there for the number 51 AF Corsa Ferrari drivers. Jimmy Bruni gets out. Giancarlo Fisichella was in, so he gets out. Is that Jimmy Bruni getting in? No, it's Matteo Malicello, the third driver in the team. Two of those three, Bruni and Fisichella, won the GT class last year in the GT Pro. Now, again, lots of first-time viewers, so we'll bear with us if we go over a few of these things. GT cars, this is a GT car. It looks like a car. GT Gran Turismo. Okay, so it is basically a supercar, a road-going supercar. So Ferrari, Lamborghini, BMW M3s, Audi R8s, R10s, well, not R10s yet, but they'll come, I'm sure. Aston Martins, that sort of thing. Things that look like cars. The two prototype classes, LMP for Le Mans Prototype 1 and 2, are purpose-built racing cars, open or closed, and they are the quicker cars on the track. Welcome back to Eurosport's live coverage of the 2013 Le Mans 24 Hours. Liz Halliday taking a break, and Martin Haven, Mark Cole, joined by Neville Hay. Good evening, Neville.
Evening. The voice of the night again.
Just quickly, yes, the night watchers are with us. Yeah. Just quickly, talking about brakes, question from a first-time Le Mans fan. Say, what do drivers do about toilet breaks? Do they go when they're not in the car? Well, yes, that is devoutly to be hoped. Bearing in mind they've got to share it for 24 hours with two theoretical colleagues. So, yes, I mean, they're not in there all day and all night, and they, like you tell your kids, go before they leave home.
There have been thoughtless drivers in the past, but we won't go into it.
Well, no, no, but their teammates had to.
Exactly.
So, yes, in cases of extreme physical unwellness, drivers have vomited in their helmets and kept driving before, and have been very, very unwell in their race suits and kept driving before. But that is extraordinarily... I mean, these drivers are, when they're in the car, brutalized by the G-forces and the forces of the car and the heat and the vibration and everything else to a phenomenal extent. They are very, very fit athletes indeed. They spend all their lives when they're not driving physically training their bodies, bicycles and gyms and swims and all the other stuff. And they are, especially in the factory teams, really thoroughly looked after by physios and especially by dietitians and nutritionists who make sure that they eat, they drink, they hydrate, they get all the right stuff. And so hopefully they don't suddenly halfway down go, are we there yet? I need to stop at the services. Because that doesn't really help you win races like Le Mans.
Yeah, it's a totally different ball game for those of you who were perhaps a little bit earlier on looking at the historic racing. It's totally different nowadays. Drivers really do have to be an awful lot fitter. One of the things, of course, the physical strain is different. It's not a question of physical strength, it's physical strain. The G-forces and everything else as well can cause you an awful lot of problems if you're not fit. And that's one of course, the age things that was brought up a few minutes ago. Although we have had drivers, in fact, I recall was a German driver. He was well over 60. And I seem to recall he had an accident, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, lots of drivers have accidents, whether they're 16 or 60, so that's not entirely unexpected. Several people asking about the Delta Wing that, of course, raced here last year, but as we have now got 14 hours remaining, that means we've got to carry the 1 and 3, 10 hours in the books, and the sole healthy Audi is still our race leader. For those of you who haven't been with us from the beginning, Audi 1, 2, 3 on the grid, had a bit of a trouble in the early wet going with the Toyotas catching right up, and then two Audis had problems. Toyota now second and third. LMP2 leader is now in 8th place overall, and the recovering number 1 Audi, which had a crank sensor changed in around 20 minutes, tell that to your Audi dealer, is now back up into 15th place among the LMP2 cars. GTE Pro leader is the Aston Martin Vantage V8 99 car rather, being driven by Rob Bell at the moment. It's Aston Porsche, and then trailing behind Chevrolet, ahead now of the two Ferraris. First of the Corvettes of Tommy Milner, and in the orange light and orange numbered cars, the GTE AM class, where you're only allowed one professional driver. It is the number 55 Ferrari. Lorenzo Caze currently leading. Was Porsche first and second in class last hour. Ferrari haven't suddenly grown a spurt of speed, but with pit stops chopping and changing the order, currently the Ferrari being shown in front in that class. So there's been a couple of changes. It was Patrick Dempsey's Ferrari that led after the 88. Patrick Dempsey's Ferrari led after the 88. Porsche led after the 88 Porsche of Gianluca Roda went off. But currently, after a pit stop, he's dropped down to third in that class. And for those, again, who were not watching earlier today, the first retirement in the race was the 95 Aston Martin, an all-Danish crewed entry for Gulf Racing Aston Martin in the GT AM class. And that accident tragically claimed the life of its driver, Alan Simonson. So with a very heavy heart and at the bequest of his family, the Aston Martin team are continuing to race on in his memory. So the ticker will run across the top of the screen, shows you the driver that's currently in the car with its position. The little red bars show which its class is, and the red ones are for LMP1. Little blue bars will appear in a moment. Those will be your LMP2 cars. Little green bars show that they're in the GTE Pro class, and little orange bars show that they're in the GTE AM class. If you've got a favourite driver, you should be able to find them there, or if not, you can go to lemans.org and find them on the live timing, assuming that, like all the other internet here at Le Mans, that hasn't fallen over. Here's a GTE AM car. GT cars, Damien Faulkner joins us again. Damien, GT cars basically look like cars, and the prototypes like this one, second in the LMP2 class, basically don't. They're purpose-built just for going racing.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Good to be back again. It's cold out there.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. That's why we're all huddling in the booth now, despite the wretched aircon.
Yeah, I mean, basically the GT cars have to, there's a lot of regulations. I mean, they effectively, they have to look like a road car. There's lots of things. I mean, they're obviously homologated into a racing spec for racing here, with lots of different changes. But you know, even things like the dashboard, I was reading, it really has to sort of emulate what a dashboard looks like in that particular car.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice because in one way you've got the best of both worlds there. You've got, you know, the prototypes that are the real sort of, you know, the cars that are built for maximum performance, and then you've got the GT cars that most of us can identify with something we see on the road, not necessarily something we drive on the road, maybe.
Even occasionally.
Not me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's the GT class is road-going supercars, and they start with a production body shell. You don't necessarily keep much of the production grubby bits, but the engine must be production-based. It must have the same cylinder block, for instance, and a lot of the other components must be very similar to the production engine in terms of suspension, brakes, gearbox, and so on.
Fuel as well.
They have to be built for this, indeed, fuel as well. And that there's another point. You see, now we don't have a spec tyre here at Le Mans, but we do have fuel controlled and supplied by the manufacturer. So even in the wildest excesses of Formula One's turbo era, where they were making fuel out of very, very nasty stuff indeed, it's essentially a pump fuel that is used here at Le Mans. And Neville, the prototypes you start with, I was going to say a blank piece of paper, but obviously it's a blank computer screen and a rule book, and you basically draw what you want, and there's no differentiation between the two classes as to whether you have a lid on it or not. You can, at the moment, design open or closed cars to suit your will.
Yes, there seems to be sort of a move towards closed cars again, having had a move towards open cars a year or two back. Of course, this race started out really as a race for road cars. There's no question about that. Prototypes were allowed in, and there are a lot of people who feel that perhaps, how can I put it, that they've stretched the regulations a little bit too far in some areas. It's a debatable thing. I mean, I've heard an awful lot of people talking about why don't they do this, why don't they do that. Well, I think there's an old adage, you know, if it fixed, why if it works, why fix it?
Exactly, if it ain't broke. Yeah. And that's very much the way the ACA were. I mean, they've always had, for instance, when in the, you know, one of the first big eras of sports car racing when you had Porsche 917s versus GT40s, the sort of Steve McQueen Le Mans film era. Those were all purpose-built specials, and you had things like MGBs and you know, little Lotuses and so on also racing, which were actually not that far different from a road car, Triumph TR3s and all that sort of stuff. So you've always had that sort of mixture of the hyper-exotic, which really gets people's pulses racing, and let's face it, Le Mans with Steve McQueen, if they're all in MGBs, maybe not quite the same cinematography appeal. I don't know, it's just me.
Well, you know, there was this sort of thing, you've got to make 50, and I do recall that various manufacturers went out and made 50.
Well, nowadays you have to make one. If you want to race one, you make one.
Yeah.
Here's a question. In 1923, in the inaugural race here, how many laps do you think were completed?
I'm not looking at the program.
Bearing in mind, it's 1923, where your average car would be really doing well to be doing 65 flat out. They were on gravel roads, narrow gravel roads, which were designed for horses and carts, not for motorized vehicles. 123 laps in 24 hours.
Laps.
Do you know what? That's not bad.
It'd be about 1,250, 1,300 miles, because it was a longer circuit then, because it went all the way down to Pontoon
track. Well, and that's the other thing, is that they were in this area, and they went another couple of miles into town to the Ponier hairpin.
I'm sorry, it was 128.
128 laps.
Eight laps more than what they managed the following year in 1924.
Probably rained more. But again, right from the very word go, it was about proving car manufacturers were not out to kill you with these newfangled contraptions. And still the reason Toyota is here and the reason Audi is here is to prove that they are good at making cars. Audi are proving that they're good at making diesels that aren't nasty, rattly, horrible, smelly things, but are fast, comfortable in road car terms, and you know, sporty cars with diesel engines. That's why they're racing diesels. And of course, what they learn here about sipping fuel while producing power makes their road car diesels so much better as well. It all knocks on. Steel wheels, proper pneumatic tires, proper valves, disc brakes, you know, any number of different things.
No smoke.
No smoke. And any number of different things were created here.
You had to run with the hood up as well.
For the first hour of the race. And if it blew off, you darn well had to stop and
pick it up, put it back on again. Exactly. If you wanted to repair it, you had to repair it with the tools and the spares on the car.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And still, cars carry a limited toolkit, and still drivers are taken to the factory and taught how to use it and what they can do with it, because if the car stops out on track, unless, as in years gone by, you seem to have found some tools in the grass by that barrier.
That has happened.
No,
people have been disqualified for it.
Absolutely not.
I think nowadays you would need to find a laptop to get the car going again.
No, absolutely. And several data engineers. Oh, there seems to be a Pratt perch right here full of people with laptops. How very convenient. But I mean, there's some great YouTube, possibly still on YouTube, footage of David Leslie when he was racing in one of the C2 cars, or one of the C1 cars, either an Aston Martin or a Cos, can't remember, taking the rear bodywork off, overall strapped down to his race, covered in grease, trying to fix this damn thing. I mean, he started out as a BMC engineer. He you know, still could fix pretty much anything mechanical, just like his son Graham is doing now, disappointingly for the 95 car, which is no longer in the race. But David, stripped to the waist, trying to fix this car in sweltering heat, covered in sweat and grease, and just for hours fighting to get the damn thing to run so we can get it back to the pits. Because once you've spent a year getting here, you don't want to give up in 5 minutes, and none of these guys are going to give up unless they're beaten out of the race.
What a man, the great David Leslie, killed sadly in an air crash, but one of the people who I really love talking to, because it's said of a lot of drivers that they know what they do, and of others that they think they know what they do. Well, actually, David actually knew what he was doing in a car, he just didn't think he did.
Yeah.
We were talking about silly things. When I was a little boy, the first book I had was Full Throttle by Sir Henry Birkin, and there he had a co-driver who literally ran to the pits and ran back to the car. This wasn't a young guy, he was about 47 years old, Frenchman called Jean Chessin, with the bits to repair it. Remarkable.
That used to happen. A riding mechanic would be the guy that went off and got stuff, and yeah. number of times mechanics would run, mind you, 2 miles or more back to the pits. We've run out of fuel. Here it is. What? Yes, off you go. Because the mechanic had to run back with the fuel, all the parts, or the tyre, or whatever was required to keep the car in the race.
That's exactly what happened.
Easy life now. They're not allowed to leave the pits. Whoa, hang on. This is our GTE.
It doesn't want to know, does
Fourth-place
it?
car. You know, Bergmeister took 3 goes to fire it up.
No, that was actually, I think, we're seeing the onboard there. I think that was the wheel guns tightening the wheels.
You may well be right, yes.
Yeah, it was the guns, wasn't it?
Noise and vibration, yes, throwing me a curveball. Good spot. See, that's why we have racing drivers. They see and understand things we've got no clue about.
And I just got another tweet here from David, who has asked me to say hello to his daughter Marianne. She's watching her first 24 hours of Le Mans. So, hello, hi.
Get to bed.
And I have a second one here from a guy who says, have you noticed the air intake on the Toyotas? He thinks that the 7 has a different air intake from the 8.
Stop.
I haven't noticed.
Stop with the air intakes on the Toyotas. A, we hadn't noticed, and B, we have not yet found out if they're different, and if so, why. Don't know.
I thought you'd have an explanation for that.
The two cars.
You do.
No, I thought Martin does.
The 2 cars are both new cars. They're both in the same aerodynamic specification as we understand it. I have no idea why they would not be identical. And if they're not identical, is it just a visual trick because one's got different colours on to make it look different? I don't know. Somebody did ask me, which of the Audis are in Le Mans spec? I'm thinking probably all 3 of them.
Yes, yes.
Team radio.
I must say, good evening.
Marcel, front tyres okay. Front tyres okay.
Still have this kind of strange vibration coming from the front.
Well, this is Le Mans. Everything went a little bit quiet. I'm not quite sure why, but anyway, we're back again with still no major change except a silence which has come back to us, and all is well. The Christensen Audi still very much in the lead. My regards to the Demon Barbara Worcester. And the interesting thing has got to be that the Toyotas are still there. I think everybody felt that by now, Damien, that we were not going to have the Toyotas sort of quite so close, and it's all worked out totally different to the way we thought, I think.
Yeah, and especially after last year with the unreliability as well, and then of course leading into this whole weekend with the lack of pace from them, even relative to last year, because they were quite fast last year. In fact, they led the race, didn't they?
Yeah.
But they both broke, and of course then, you know, we're used to seeing such sort of bulletproof reliability from the Audi, and you know, I had mentioned earlier that I thought they were on cruise control.
Well, they seemed to get it all wrong, didn't they? This race, when we were looking at practice, we looked at it and thought, heavens, what's gone wrong here? It wasn't brilliant at Spa either. And you sort of thought, well, have they misjudged it? But this is actually quite an interesting race, because I think the Audis are quicker, but there is this fuel question, and as the lady said, it ain't over till it's over.
Well, that's the thing, you know, it's 24 hours, of course, isn't it? And it's a challenge, so to finish first you have to finish. And
very, very much so.
As we can see, anything can happen in a race like this.
Yep. It's interesting that I think we've all gone through and explained that you've got the red marking the cars in one class, blue and green, so it's very easy to see, because you've got, in fact, you can see the class leader quite easily, and we're joined. Goodness, this is Carlton. It's very nice to see you. We've been very quiet.
Yes, well, yes, finally joined you at 1:20 in the morning. Yeah, looking for you to come forward to your company. It is the Up All Night Club, of course, and we have Mr. Licorice, as he's known, Neville Hay, the most magnificent voice in motorsport, joining us.
Kind of you to say so.
Well, yes, well, you know, the truth often hurts, but in this case, I'm sure it's rather pleasant. And Damien Faulkner as well. Guys, it's that time of the night where suddenly we still haven't even reached the halfway stage, and it just gives you a sense of how this race is quantified and how it stacks up. It is quite remarkable.
It's crazy. It is. It's a crazy long event.
It's a fascination, isn't it? You know, I've been coming to Le Mans for a very long time, and I don't know why it is. It's always the night session that fascinated me more than anything else, because everybody says, well, nothing happens much during the night, they just go round and round. But actually, it does happen, apart from the fact that people go quite quickly. I mean, we're watching people going within 2 or 3 seconds of lap record during the night, but then you get this question when the dawn begins to break, and you get very often a bit of mist and things like this, and
get a flag. 77 cars taking a spin
in the middle of that. Yes, number 77, the Porsche. This is the Dempsey. I think it's Dempsey driving it too, isn't it?
Brief check.
Yes, it is. Dempsey driving it.
Second and fast.
He's stuck in a funny place.
Well, it's a dangerous place as well.
Yeah,
if you can't get it going,
he likes it. I don't think anybody else would.
No.
He's got a problem there, because everything's flashing, but as they say, there's nobody home, so I think there could be some help there somewhere. Let's see what happened. Did he get clipped then?
Yes, he did.
I thought he got clipped, yep.
Yeah, that's a mad spin.
That is a crazy spin.
Well, he's trying to restart it. The marshals can't reach him at the moment. It's a very dangerous position, and if it stays there, then we may well have to have a truck to come and help him out.
Could very well
to be honest, if it's a safety issue, then we may just get a safety car.
He's probably just flooded the engine there or something. I'm sure the team will be on the radio telling him to put his foot flat in the throttle.
To be fair, he's just off the racing line, but he can't move, and it's a dangerous situation to be in.
There was another car involved. I didn't see who it was.
No, I didn't.
It was a prototype just there in front of him or something. So yeah, that was. But his tyres will be, I would imagine, Fred Flintstone.
There we are. Still stopped on track. We can't see it at the moment. Incidentally, most of the pictures this evening will be on board. And has he got going? Is that what we're looking at right now?
No, we're in a different place.
Just to let you know, that there he is. He has indeed got going. The 77 car is back and underway, so he clearly caught it in the end. Flooded engine, as you were saying, Nev, and back and underway, which is great. Last thing we wanted was another hiatus. We've had too many of those already today.
Yeah.
He's dropped one place as well to third, hasn't he?
Yeah, I'd like to know exactly how that all started and finished. We might get a replay, you never know. But it's a bit late for that.
Do you know what? He is very much an actor who's become a racing driver. And,
Yes.
you know, all credit to him. He's worked extraordinarily hard to actually reach that level, and he's delivering it right now. Incidentally, if you'd like to get in touch with us this evening, Damien Faulkner and myself, Carlton Kirby, are indeed on Twitter, and we'll be delighted to answer your questions. I know a few of you often like to join the Up All Night Club. Neville, are you on Twitter?
No. Too lazy, I think.
Well,
but if you want me, if you talk to any of the others, they'll sort of wake me up or something and say.
We'll pass on your good tidings.
Yeah.
A little bit later on, we'll have Chris Parsons as well, who knows so much history about Le Mans. It's, what he doesn't know is not worth knowing. We're down with the 26 car right now. Not sure what the issue is.
No, I'm not quite sure. Incidentally, that it's not quite as easy as we thought, is it? Because is that a tire? I think he's got a brake problem, actually.
Well, the G-Drive boys have had their issues all evening, but then again, that's exactly what you've got to deal with. Tom Christensen, incidentally, has the fastest lap so far in this 90th Le Mans. Lap 86 it was when he posted a 3:23.2. He's going around at the moment having about 4.5 seconds slower than that pace. Neville, normally at this time of night, when the air density changes, track temperature alters as well, often you get some pretty quick times, but the visibility also plays a part.
Yeah, as we were saying, at the moment it's nice and clear. We've been told there might be a bit of mist around about dawn. Have you come across that in your experience?
I have, yeah, but I wasn't on the racetrack at the time.
Not nice, is it?
On the beach.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's not nice, you know. I mean, it really isn't. And
actually, Daytona this year was I wasn't driving, but my teammate was in at the time, and it was actually
we've got
yellow flag for a long time.
Off and in trouble.
One of the Corvettes.
Yes,
I can't quite see. We're on CCTV cameras, by the way. It's the 70 car. Yes, this is McNeil is on board. It's the AM class, and unfortunately, occasionally when we get into the night time, a lot of drivers are actually found out, and it looks like that's the case right now. He's trying to get underway, but I think this is going to be beached. He may well need assistance.
I think that's going to need assistance because he's awfully close to the wall, isn't he, as well?
Yeah. Incidentally,
not going anywhere forwards. He's got to go backwards, and if he does that, he'll dig in. So I think it's help.
Yes, exactly. I know we've had a fatality on this year's race, and of course, our thoughts very much with the family. And yes, Alan Simonsen, extraordinarily unlucky to have had an accident in a place where the Armco was abutting a tree, is what we're hearing. So there was no give in the Armco, essentially. 1 metre more or 1 metre less, and it would have been fine. But questions will be asked, of course, and safety is absolutely primary here. And I imagine there may well be some tree clearance away from the Armco, if that proves to be the case. A lot of rumours at the moment, but that one is from a decent source, and so we assume that it has some truth in it. If it is the case, then you know, amendments will have to be made.
It's a very different situation in this time, at this time in the world in 2013 to, shall we say, a matter of 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago here at Le Mans, and it is a comparative rarity, and it is sad. And I think all of our thoughts go with the family, and I think it was a very brave decision on their part to say, no, go on, this is what he would have wanted, and I'm sure it is.
I think so, yeah, and I mean, it looks like, you know, these guys are doing him proud, and it would be a very emotional victory, wouldn't it? I know we're still 13.5 hours to go, but...
Yeah.
Well, it's Rob Bell that's leading the GT Pro class for Aston Martin at the moment. They're 1 and 3 with Darren Turner running in 3rd place behind Mark Lieb's Porsche as we speak. It would be a great tribute to them. Essentially what they've said is the best tribute to him is to go and win it on his behalf. Believe me, there will be plenty of tears whether they win or not at the end of this. I think everyone's just very much holding themselves together. And Alan Simonsen, who sadly died here at Le Mans earlier on today. We're going to take ourselves a commercial break, and we'll be back back with the action. Most of it on board, which I know a lot of you love, because a lot of the cameras further deep down on the course have been closed down at the side of the road. So more on boards to come. welcome back. You're looking at the 70 car. Now, it may well have been on an in-lap, low on fuel when he lost it. And as a result, it looks like he's out of fuel due to, I presume, the burn that he's used trying to get out of the gravel trap. That's what we're assuming anyway. And he is on pit road right now, as you can see, and it's very much not even 1 horsepower as we go now.
Yeah, I think it looks actually as if he might have some electrical problems as well, because there are no lights at all. They were on, they're now completely off. So there may be a little bit more to it than meets the eye.
Damien?
Well, we can speculate, but we're probably going to find out what's going on here shortly. Could have been a driver change. Maybe he was preparing himself. I don't know.
Yeah, never know. I'm never quite sure whether it's proper smoke, if you see what I mean, whether smoke there's fire or whether that was just some of the heat exchangers. The door came open because it is very, very cold here this evening, I've got to tell you. There you are. That is starting to look more and more like smoke right now.
Yeah, I think he's got an electrical problem. I think that's where it starts and finishes, and I think it's inside the car, and if I was him, I think I'd step out.
Me too, and I think the guys refueling is probably not a great idea. There you go, straight into the garage. And, well, there you are. I think we've got our answer.
Yeah.
Out, they wanted him. I don't know whether he actually did manage to get out of the vehicle at that point, but it's certainly now back. So McNeil, yes, he is clear of it. They wanted him clear, and the back cowl coming off, and this does not look great. They've not had the best of fortunes, Damien.
No, no, not having a clean run at all, actually, and neither, I believe, are any of the Corvettes. Yeah, you know, the WeatherTech car here it's in a bit of trouble, isn't it?
It's odd, isn't it? The Corvettes were bulletproof for years. Nothing happened. They went in that lovely flat V8 note, and everything was fine. This year, oh dear.
Well, you know what, they came here and we've been asking them the question, what's wrong with the car, and they've constantly come back and said, we don't know. We have brought the same vehicle, we know this vehicle, it runs very well. Clearly everyone else has taken an extra step forward, Damien.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know, like we spoke about it earlier in the broadcast, but you know, they were expecting to make it better, and they had some ideas, according to Oliver Gavin the other day. Those ideas he wanted to keep to himself, but he said the team had some beliefs, and they were trying to make it better, and Doug Feehan had said that there was smoke coming out of the computers trying to make these cars better. Well, there's smoke coming out of the back of that car now, so
yes.
Obviously that's not one of the works cars, but
you know, the Rebellion cars have gone extraordinarily well now.
They have. Turning back again to the leading battle, which I'm sure that you're all aware of is happening with the Christensen car. It is Tom at the wheel of that at the moment, turning in laps in 3:28. The scrap behind, really, I mean, we've got Anthony Davidson turning in 3:33s. We've got Pierre to 3:31s, and then De Grassi 3:31s. That really is a dogfight. It's, you know, there's nobody really giving an inch. There's a couple of seconds here and there, but they are really obviously hard at it. Now, we saw earlier on today that if it was damp, it seemed to favour the Toyotas.
Well, we found out why. Yes, because we had the Michelin the head guy, or I'm not sure who he was actually, in here on the booth earlier today, and they have it wasn't the intermediate tire, but they have two slick tires available. One operates better at higher temperatures, the other at lower temperatures, ambient temperatures, I think, at track temperatures. And Toyota chose the sort of, if you like, the more nighttime version.
Yeah.
And Audi stuck with
because it was cold, it was running warm enough, and it was wearing well enough to actually do a proper stint on it.
And that was the ace car that Toyota had at the very beginning of the race, which was, you know, I mean, they were phenomenal at the start of the race.
Really showed, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. It was.
We all thought it was going to be a different race, didn't we, from then?
Well, it still is a different race because, let's face it, we know we've seen a 3:23 was the lap on number 86 from Christensen. They've not got down to that, but they can get down into the 3:25s, 24s.
Yeah, I think they're just being, you know, if someone of those front leaders, even the Toyotas, I'm sure can do a fabulous lap time, even in the night time. But I think they're just being extra careful, obviously going through the traffic, and especially going through the third sector with the Porsche curves.
The lead is coming in. It's Tom Christensen onto pit road right now.
Yeah, I think it's an ordinary scheduled stop.
Yep, he's taken 15 pit stops so far compared to Anthony Davidson's 8 car of 13 and just 12 for Lapierre. They're staying at hand here, but it is a 2-lap advantage as he comes in.
We've got a yellow flag somewhere, incidentally. It doesn't tell me where, but it just says there is one.
Car 81 is in the gravel.
R81, now
yes,
it does.
Marshall Point 76, and there it is.
Burgermeister. Porsche.
Yep. Oh. And at speed by the looks of things.
Yeah, he really has, hasn't he? It's
the 8-star
Ferrari and Portolici on board. Excuse me. So the 2 cars stopping. We were saying, Neville, a little bit earlier on that experience counts for an awful lot here.
Yeah.
I know fortune as well favours the brave, and all that. But to be honest, these guys in this car maybe long of tooth as far as racing is concerned, but they've got a huge amount of success, and they know every single inch of this circuit.
Yes, that's an interesting one. I was talking to, I'm not going to say who, I think it's safer to. I've driven around here in more races than you can think of, but you know, it's different every year. Pardon, I said. No, it's different every year, because always they've patched something, or the trucks have just caught, and you think you know, but you don't, and that's why people have been going off during the course of practice. That's why it's so slippery. There have been a lot of little bits and pieces of roadwork done, and that's one of the reasons why it has been a very slippery circuit.
And of course, you know, it's so long, and half of the circuit is used every day, and half of it's used once a year, and you've got white lines in the middle of the road and all sorts of things. So and even if they paint the curbs with a different paint manufacturer, it's going to be different. So
it has been sort of noted that there's been an awful lot of change this year, particularly. I think that's the reason why.
Talking about changes, a nice and swift one. I think this might be Stuart Hall going in. We will find out in just a few moments' time. Jamie Campbell-Walter, and it
Stuart Hall, you're right.
Yeah, there he goes. Stewie is getting a decent drive this year. Was very much hobbled last year and found himself in the commentary position here with us at a very early stage. And thankfully he's had a much cleaner run this time by. Well, personally speaking, I'm hoping he goes even better. He's got some ground to make up, unfortunately, and running in 6th place right now. Not as high as they'd hoped, Damien.
No, I think we saw that car off in the gravel earlier. I think it might have been Jamie Campbell-Walter.
It was, I believe, yeah.
Just getting back to knowing every inch of the track. He got out to the edge of the gravel. There's about a car's width. Actually, he came down the grass and he sort of tagged the barrier, and then he drove it right around the perimeter of the gravel. There's just a car's width there, and I mean, that's someone who obviously knows that that's there. You know, the less experienced driver may want to fly as the crow flies back to the track and try and go through the gravel. But there is, and you know, more often than not at many of these circuits, there is that sort of lane. And I think that's what it's designed for. If someone actually makes it through, that they can actually just drive right around the outside between the barrier and the gravel.
But riding roughshod is no great shakes for the car, and shaking down the order it certainly was. Well, Stewie Hall is on board and on his outlap right now. It's a great mix actually amongst the GT class. I'd like it to be mixed a bit more. The Vipers really haven't performed as they should, and in fact they're almost the last of the pro cars.
Yes, we were saying earlier on that it just hasn't somehow been the year for Vipers this year. They've just had a pretty awful time of it.
Well, they've certainly got the size of engine. They've got the capacity to do something special. The SRT street racing project is still underway. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just sort of
hooking in.
We don't know when we're going to hear a pit report of driver. And then suddenly you just stop because
it can be a snippet, and
yeah.
That was SRT Street Racing Technologies, of course, the new brand for the Viper. Frankly, I don't know why they moved away from Dodge or Chrysler, but they're creating a whole new division within GM, and that is where it comes.
You know,
even in the Porsche quarters, I can't see the track because of the vibration.
There we are.
I think it's the tyres. It doesn't look like bouncing from the inerter not working.
Now, we now have managed to follow that.
Are you okay for 3 laps, or do you want to pit?
I'm okay, but I hope the vibration is okay too.
Gosh, you can actually hear the vibration coming through his voice there, presumably transmitting through the steering column and shaking him all over the place. Not comfortable. Asked by the engineer whether he'd like to come in. Said, can you do 3 more laps, they say. He's currently back up to 12th place after languishing in 23rd, I think the one car went down to after a big unscheduled long stop earlier on.
And they think it's a tyre. Or tyres.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe just a flat spot. But we say just a flat spot, Damien. You know all about that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a flat spot will certainly do it, but it could be pickup from just running offline. It's very easily to pick up the marbles, and they're very hard to shake off again. So, and they can cause a big imbalance on the wheel. Obviously, when they're going, you know, the tremendous speed down the Mulsanne.
The chances of me mentioning this name are getting less and less as time goes by. But in 1959, the leading Aston Martin came in, and the driver said, "This isn't right. It's a terrible vibration." This went on. It crawled round. And there was a terrible row in the pit. And actually what it was that a piece had come off the inside of the tyre. And whereas he thought he'd got a problem with the rear end breaking up, it was actually tyres. They put new tyres on. Car was fine. The only thing is it lost 2 laps by now. They did eventually win, but it was a very close call.
There we are.
They're very important tyres.
What was the biggest margin of victory here?
Oh, well, I can tell you that...
Do you want to have a think?
The C-Type Jaguar won by about 70 miles in 1951, if that helps you.
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah, we've had some very close calls as well. We'll be taking a break in just a few moments' time. I'm having a little bit of difficulty at the moment getting onto Twitter, but Damien Faulkner is well clued up.
Yeah.
Maybe that should be your destination. He's racked with
Carlton, I just
pleasure at the moment.
Honestly, I've been inundated with Twitter messages here to say hello to so many people. So hello to you all. Yeah, I just can't say hello individually.
A question
to everybody.
is probably better than can you give me a shout out, because so many people actually say that. Unless you're for at this time of night, it's not going to happen. We're going to take ourselves a commercial break. Somebody asking what the light pods are on the side, the little lights. It tells you your position. If you see 1, it's first. If you see 2, it's second. If you see 3, it's third. There was some argument at the beginning when they were thinking of putting these light boards on, a bit like Michelin stars. I think the French perhaps would have liked 3 for the leader, 2 for second. But it was far too confusing. So they decided, look, we'll go 1, 2 and 3 and leave it like that. So not Michelin stars, but position on the track. There you go. Reading the barcode. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. Occasionally you just get a dip into conversation and you clearly know that you're not supposed to hear it. And just a few moments ago we heard one of the pit crew saying, clean the car, what's the point? Clearly, well, maybe there's just a lack of insect life and it looked pretty clean to him anyway and he just fancied a bit of a break. What do you think?
My screen is so dirty. I must have followed the car with loads of oil. I just can't see.
There you are, and there's the absolute opposite.
26.8 gap. Do you want to tear off at the stop? No, just clean.
There you go. They are limited by the number of tear-offs. I think it's 5. And yes, asking him if he wants to tear off, which is an instant clean, and he says no, I'd rather keep that as an option for later, despite his problems. Fluid from another vehicle, he thinks.
Yeah, that's quite often the case, because some of them are overfilled, particularly some of the gearboxes, and it's the overflow, and then it sort of just splashes and it atomizes and just.
If you listen carefully, just listen to the sound, the engine note, because the Toyota we can hear, and he is pushing.
I'm not sure that the sound and our feed is synchronized, because if it is, he's getting on the power scarily early coming out of the turns.
Yeah, it may well be there's a bit of a gap, a delay, one way or the other, audio in front of pictures.
It is the Ansher now, he's a bit fierce.
I don't know, you know, he really is on it.
He is fierce, isn't he?
The 3 car comes to a halt.
Yep.
On his marks, Di Grassi.
Full service. Driver change as well here.
Stuart Hall update. Oh, hang on. Stuart Hall's got a problem, or unless that last time is his outlap, 5 minutes 30 doesn't look great.
Doesn't look good at all, does it?
No, it does not. And I've got to tell you, that is that's about third quickest running. In fact, he's the fastest man in class at the moment. Pro-Ams.
Yeah, Stuart Hall, the son of Pete Hall, who was a strong supporter of Andy Rouse in the British Touring Car Championship. For those of you who like to think back that far, Andy, a very hot shoe at that time, and no mean driver himself, and Stuart really does love his racing.
Yeah, exactly. I saw father and son, actually. We were almost star jumping out of Audi hospitality, trying to catch Stuart's attention, just to give him a wave, really. He was talking to his dad. His dad was kind of looking past him, thinking, who are those nutcases?
And an autograph.
Yeah, thankfully he introduced us a bit later on, and yes, order was restored, thank goodness. 61 car, taking its time. It's last little wave away and off and underway right now, running 4th in class. Do you know what? It's kind of order as you were. Porsches and Ferraris at the top of the list for GT.
Yeah, that battle has been ongoing for a good few hours now. It just looks like Aston and Porsche there all the way. So,
well, sorry, Ferrari and Porsche in the amateurs.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the AMs.
Yeah, I was the GT AMs.
I just couldn't wait to get back to the pros here. Sorry.
Get back to the pros, why don't you? Bell and Turner 1 and 3 at the moment in the 99 and 97 car. Mark Lieb with the Porsche still very much involved.
I'm watching Andre Lotterer because he was complaining that he's got a problem, I recall, but all seems well because he's still lapping in 334s. He was complaining about a tyre problem, was it not?
It was his teammate, I think.
His teammate.
Yeah, well, it was Marcel Fasler that was complaining about the vibration.
God, it's wonderful to be wrong again.
Welcome to my world.
Into the darkness then. We were talking earlier on to Liz Halliday about the tunnelling effect of driving at night. A lot of drivers actually really like it. I know that some are quite averse to it. I know a number of gentlemen drivers here, although they've qualified for night driving here at Le Mans, have decided to take their stints in the daytime and in the drive.
That's
very much
normal.
so.
That's normal. I have to tell you, because you're a young man, that your night vision does not get better as you get older. I used to be, he says, quite good in the dark. I'm not now.
Steady on. We'll be giving you
we're getting on a different subject, aren't we?
We're digressing.
Yes, Damien, yeah, well, was it something you rather liked or not?
No, absolutely, I do. And I think part of the I think there's advantages as well, because it narrows your is that what you said? Narrows your focus? Because
yes, exactly.
What you want to do in a racing car is you don't want to have too much peripheral vision on the side. So I tend to use, you know, lots of people use brake markers like 100-meter boards or 200-meter boards as braking markers. I never use that. I always use something in front of me so that my vision is always on the track. because, you know, I just use brake marks, and, you know, typically there'll be little track undulations and you'll see black rubber marks, and that's what I use. So it helps you, I think it helps you channel your vision, and I think it's all about vision, really.
Track undulations in braking points, it's a bit like carpet, can rock just a little bit once they've laid tarmac, because it remains fluid at temperature.
Yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's well articulated.
Toyota in. Looks like a scheduled stop for him. Headlights being cleaned, but I don't think they're changing tyres this time.
The Michelin signs on those tyres are like new.
Yeah, it was quite fascinating to know that they actually, rather like going in your, it's whatever place you go to have your goods sort of checked, they can check the tyres just the same way as they tick on the checkout when you go out to a big store. I'm quite fascinated by that. I didn't know that.
I think it's actually just for their own records, to be honest. Each one has got an individual barcode, and
well, it tells you what sort of tyre it is, because you can't see just looking at it.
But likewise, if there's any kind of product failure, they know exactly which one it is, and what sort of stresses it's been put under, I guess. Lapierre there, just on his out lap. Anthony Davidson is involved. It's gone red, Lapierre, the 7 car. Let's have a look. No danger so far. I think that might just be a graphical error. I'm kind of hoping so.
Well, he just came out behind his teammate there in the number 8 car. So we're assuming he's behind.
Yeah, they've now swapped.
They have just swapped position.
Oh, yeah, they've now swapped position.
Well, we're still waiting to see.
Because the ANT was getting in. We know that he was trying very, very hard a lap or two ago, and he just had a pit stop as well. I think they stopped on consecutive laps.
Well, we'll see. Let's hope we don't have any nasty surprises. If you're only just joining us and you're wondering why we're not having any long shots or indeed aerial shots, we don't have those cameras operating at night, but there's plenty of onboards, and of course the pit lane is still very much active. So it makes for great running. We may, in a moment, just have a bit of actuality where we'll switch our mics off and let you enjoy it. And you can boost the sound. Tell you what, we'll give you 20 seconds. See how that goes. And in a few moments' time, you understand. Yeah. And that way, you can turn it. You'll know when to turn it back down again, so we don't blast your ears off when we start talking again.
It was quite fascinating, and it is quite fascinating in the daylight, but I equally find it very fascinating at night using the onboards, because in a way, it's like watching it from a totally different angle, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. Onboard cameras, incidentally, were huge in the early days. In fact, the first racing onboard cameras were almost as big as a desk. You know, those very, very large TV cameras, and they were in the Bathurst. Was the first use of them.
You forget what we used to do for a living.
Yes, I know. But do you also know the first pan shot was on the Bathurst? I'll tell you about that in a moment.
Yeah, I was there.
Were you?
Yeah.
Well, the camera was on board. Let me tell me if you were involved in this. And it was on a ratchet system, like a spring. You pull the camera back, and you would fire it remotely as they overtook somebody, and it would just pan round. You could get one pan shot, but the weight of the camera as it swung would actually destabilize the car.
They weren't as big as that for very long. We did actually have a very close association with Channel 7 at one time, and I think it's fair to say that we brought in modern in-car technology to a large degree, and this would be in the 80s.
Yeah, it was, of course, amazing stuff.
It was a little bit, you know, as Professor Andretti said, monkey see, monkey do.
Yes. Well, there you are. These days, they're called pen cams for very good reason.
They're about that big.
Very, very tiny. Yeah. You can even mount them inside a helmet. I've seen that done.
You can, and it's really quite fascinating. There has been a lot of development, and I'm not going to go into it now because, A, I don't fully understand it, and B, it's nothing to do with me anymore.
There you go. That picture tells you everything you need to know. It is a tiring business doing a 24-hour race, and it's not just for the drivers. In fact, they usually survive an awful lot better than some of the crew that constantly has to be on and then off all the time. I think as a driver, when you're on, Damien, it's a relaxing place to be. You're kind of in your office, really.
Well, don't you notice it, Damien, if when you're driving, you're with it. When you come in, that's it. You're
Yeah, it's very difficult to find time for yourself, because when you come in, the team want to know, they want an update. The next driver going in wants some information, or the one that's going in next who's already on standby from the guy that you've just handed over to. And then you just want to get fueled up yourself, get some food. And by that stage, an hour and a half's gone, and you might only have another hour and a half or 2 hours. So depending on how many, what race you're doing. Of course, there's only 3 drivers here permitted, but Daytona, which I've done a bunch of times, you can have as many. Well, 5.
A dozen. Yeah. I was watching the sheer misery on Alec McNeish's face as he sits there. All he really wants to do is to go out there in the car, because while he's driving it, he feels happy, and while anybody else is driving it, I think he's thinking, don't you feel like that?
Yeah, well, especially looking into the cockpit of those Audis. I mean, it looks like you're just sitting in a bathtub. It's just it looks so neat and comfortable and everything else. And I just want to mention a change there. Patrick Dempsey has pitted, and Joe Foster is now in the 77 Porsche. They've dropped a place from 3rd to 4th, and Marco Ciacci in the 61 Ferrari, who's teammate to my fellow countryman Matt Griffin, has taken over in 3rd place there.
But that's because he was involved in that incident where Patrick, was clipped. And we don't know who did it, but it certainly wasn't his fault that he spun and found himself sitting there wondering just who was going to hit him next.
Yeah, it was good that he got going.
Thanks for all your kind messages, by the way. And a few of you saying, well, one of you saying, I've just lost it momentarily, I'll join the Up for a Bit all night club. A bit of all night. Well, why not try and make it all the way? I know some of you have got very important things to do. How long do the drivers and support crew get to rest between their next shifts, says Charles Hayward. Really enjoying the coverage, he says, as well. Oh, hello.
A lot of gravel, Indy 2 to Arnage.
There we are. That's just a cautionary note, incidentally. It's not a course caution. Gravel into Arnage was the message that was delivered. There we go.
And that's one of the advantages of running multiple cars, isn't it? Because they will convey that message now to the other 2 cars in the team.
Exactly. Ben Green says, hello from a tent in the back garden in the UK, loving the coverage. I presume, Ben, you're pretending that you're actually camping here at Le Mans. If you've got your headphones in, then that would probably work. Please, could you say hi to my dad, Steve Green? It's not the Steve Green I went to university with, I hope. If so, apologies for being very unwell in his Talbot Lotus all those years ago. It was a big night. We'll take a break. We've got a big night here as well, and we'll be back with you after these short messages. Stay with us. Welcome back. An awful lot of gravel is being dragged out of the vehicles at the moment. I think quite a bit of it is actually pickup, which has been hurled around by their own tyres. We heard the warning going out. I think it was to Alan McNish in the 2 car, warning him about a lot of gravel around. There's been so many beached cars, and at night the marshals can't possibly sweep everything. Apart from anything else, it's rather dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Yeah, I'm afraid that sort of debris doesn't get swept until the race is long over, probably on Monday.
There we are.
Sorry to overtake you, but Thunder steering behind there.
There we are. That's Lucas Ordonez was, I think, the most successful of all of the gamers, if I'm not mistaken. He's already been on the podium here at Le Mans and went on to do great things in the Blancpain series. And he is here as one of the guiding lights for Jan Mardenborough, who's also here. Young lad from Wales who's doing a fantastic job, albeit having clattered the curbs and got very airborne earlier on. He got away with that.
He did. I tell you, somebody else who's getting away with it now, and that's McNeish. He's getting away from everybody. Look, 329s. Alan, I said he was looking very uncomfortable and very miserable, and he couldn't wait to get behind the wheel again. Well, now you can see why. He wants to open up that little bit. He'd just like to get himself a little bit better cushion than he's already got.
Alan's a master of traffic, isn't he? He's got so much experience, and you know, especially at night time now with where you know they're just being a little bit tentative.
Here's your classification. The 2-car leading. The big surprise is it's Toyotas who are nearest to. 1 lap down is the 8-car. Its hybrid sister there is a further lap behind. The 3-car is chasing them down, as you can see in the hands of Ollie Jarvis. And I've got to tell you, the other Audi, which had a very long stop, I think it was 55 minutes, is now running in 12th place and has just posted a 3:25.936. That is an absolute flyer.
That is a flyer.
That's a traffic-free lap, isn't it?
And you see Davidson, you couldn't say that it hasn't had some effect on Davidson. He's just at a 3:30. So it really is interesting. This is a fascinating battle. There is this question. I don't think it really is going to be the decider, but there is the fuel question that we know hangs and will go on during the course of this race with the extra litres of fuel that they're allowed to have with the Toyotas. Does this mean that they will have something in hand in the way of time and a pit stop? Well, would it be enough? We don't know. We don't even know whether it's going to be raining tomorrow, or is it going to be raining tomorrow? We don't know. But it's still a lottery, this race.
It is. I mean, obviously, yeah, if the weather stays dry, and the number 2 Audi of McNish at the moment, you know, stays reliable, it's difficult to see them being beaten on pace. But, you know, anything can happen here. And you know, we'll just have to wait and see. But I think the Toyotas their pit stops are something like 10 seconds longer because it takes them longer to refuel. They're obviously putting in 3 litres more, but there's something more than that, I think.
Well, let's face it, the Audi is such an enormously experienced team.
Shall we have a listen on board, everybody?
Listen on board.
Mike's off, gents.
You're halfway through this pit, bud. Lap time has actually looked pretty strong. You're been on average a little bit quicker than Westbrook, who is on stickers. I think we can go ahead and try a triple on these. Okay.
They're loud and proud. We like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot of American muscle just there, isn't it?
It is.
In the front of that
To be honest, when these vehicles come by, the Corvettes, they actually rattle the windows of our commentary position. It is extraordinarily noisy, and that is hyper-muted, may I tell you.
If you think that's noisy, you should have heard that Mazda at its best a few years ago when it won the race.
In the hands of Johnny Herbert.
Was that with the rotary engine?
That was a rotary engine. That was, without any question, you could pick that noise out above everything.
Do you know something about Mazda's project? They actually came with a 5-year plan, and they bought a hotel in the centre of Le Mans. That was going to be their base. They won it within the first year, I think it was, wasn't it, with Johnny Herbert? Yeah, out of the box. Plan done, plan executed, sold the hotel.
And made a profit.
I presume so. Who knows? Yeah, quite remarkable. They had it was so well organised. They kind of beat themselves, basically. Unbelievable.
I think I'm right in saying that they do not make a rotary engine car now. I believe that the RX-8 is no longer in production, and I think that was the last rotary car that was in production.
Well, they weren't racing at Daytona this year, but last year they were, and by God, are they noisy when they go past you. on the banking. It's incredible, so high-pitched.
Yes,
screaming.
A phenomenal engine that actually won prizes, but has always been slightly juicy, nonetheless.
Yeah, that was the problem.
Yes, a phenomenal delivery torque, but just a little bit too higher fuel consumption, unfortunately. On board the 3-car Audi now, incidentally, when they come into the pits, it's in silence, which I still find very, very spooky.
It is spooky. I mean, the very first diesel car that I ever drove was a Volkswagen, a Rabbit, as they call them in those days.
That wasn't that what they called you, Nev?
No, they called me a lot of other things, but Rabbit wasn't one of them. But it was a very strange thing. I didn't have anything to do with diesel cars, really, until the late 90s. And I had this feeling. I came here to Le Mans after a little bit of a break, and they all laughed at me when I said that I reckon a diesel would win this race. It did, more or less on time, too. And, of course, now more diesel cars are sold. I think it's about 51% of the new cars sold are diesel in the UK. Which is quite interesting, isn't it?
It's crazy. I mean, the advances they've made is even just, I mean, I remember here a couple of years ago, the Audis used to smoke. I haven't seen them smoke this weekend, have you?
No, they did. You're absolutely right. I'm not quite sure the reason why either. But,
because they've been able to manage to burn all the fuel.
Yes.
Because the smoke is the excess fuel,
it was over
the black smoke.
Exactly.
Yeah, that hadn't been burned properly.
Yeah, we used to worry about it, actually. I think they popped on occasion because there would be so much unburned fuel.
Well, it was a good indicator whether they were trying or not, because the other teams would say, well, there's no black smoke from the Audis yet.
Yeah.
But I haven't even heard that mentioned this weekend.
It's a bit like a papal ordination. Yeah. Thomas Davis says, what are the license types within Le Mans? Are there different licenses required for the prototypes and the GT cars, Damien?
Different licenses.
Yeah.
You know, I
don't think so.
I've had an FIA license, and you've
Type B, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I've had an international A, I think, for the most part of 20 years.
I can't remember the national. I know Richard had one. I don't know whether he still has or not. Probably doesn't. But the thing is that it was said, and this is going back now to the days of Le Mans in the 50s, when I was sort of first showing interest, I suppose, as a boy in motor racing, that to find 60 drivers or 120 drivers who were capable of driving sensibly at Le Mans was a very difficult thing to do. Well, now we're at 3 drivers per car, and to find 3 drivers per car, when roughly 60 drivers makes it easy, 180 drivers. It isn't surprising that there is, in fact, a hell of a difference between people like McNeish, people like Davidson, who were very, very good Formula One drivers, Heidfeld, people like that, and people who have not driven at that level.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, they're going to have, well, I'm sure McNeish has a super license, and Davidson also. I've got the one next to a super license, very kindly donated by Motorsport Ireland.
Very kind of them, I must say, yes. I think the other thing that we talked about this, in fact, last year, and that is that one of the problems with long-distance racing, Le Mans in particular, is that you've got to show a certain amount of common sense when you're dealing with the traffic. There are quite a few people who are a little bit tough. We've seen it. We saw it happen today. Of all people, I think Christensen was somebody who unfortunately clipped somebody without really taking into account that he carved the poor chap up. And we saw earlier on this evening, since I've been here, there was a guy in a Porsche who nearly went off. It was just one of those things.
It's what I would call race intellect, it's basically having the capability to make a calculated decision, and that decision being right at the end of the day. And some drivers, you know, have it in abundance, and some don't. You know, it wouldn't be right for me to name names, but you know, there are drivers who are phenomenal. You've seen it, you know, in many categories, particularly Formula One. You've seen drivers phenomenal over one lap. Like if you think back, and I'm not slagging him at all because he's one of my heroes, Jean Alesi.
Yes,
absolutely. I remember in his glory days with Ferrari, you know, he'd be like half a second up on pole when qualifying was really qualifying back then. and the next corner he would just throw it straight off.
Well, as always was the case with, and has been over the years with Grand Prix drivers, you've got some people used to say, oh well, Moss isn't the fastest driver in the world. To which I would say, no, you're quite right. He probably isn't over 1 or 2 laps, but he's faster over 80 laps than you'll ever be.
Well, of course, yeah. And you know, the race intellect thing.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to be clever as the number 2 Audi of McNish comes in. And is this a... I think he's changing his fluid bottle.
Yeah. It's scheduled, I think.
Wiping the windscreen.
Doesn't time go quickly when you're enjoying yourself? It doesn't seem 2 minutes since he got in the car.
No, maybe he's tired.
Yeah, perhaps has, you know. Probably.
They're topping it up with fuel, and he started up, and then there's a lovely onboard shot, and it's away.
Yeah.
Very, very quick and slick by the Audi team. So you know, yeah, just getting back to, you know, you could probably name. I don't want to harp on about Formula 1, but if you pick the 3 people who you think are the quickest over 1 lap in Formula 1, and then you ask a second question that is who are the cleverest, I bet you could probably invert the answer to the first question.
Yes, you could. I mean, I think everybody today tends to sort of say that there is a certain Spaniard who blights everybody's life, and I have to say, I think they're right.
I would say he's number 1 on the smart list, on the clever list.
He's bright, and he's quick.
Yeah.
And to be absolutely fair to Michael, I've never understood. Many years ago, when Michael came here and driving for Mercedes, somebody said, I've got a copy of an interview you did. And I said, well, I wish I could hear it, because I can't even remember doing it. But I do know this, that when I watched Michael drive over the 90s and up to the present time, I really thought, and I made up my mind, that he was probably one of the most intelligent drivers who I ever saw, because he could calculate a race while running it all by himself.
Absolutely.
That was his great strength.
He just had that capability.
Yeah.
And that's what the good drivers have. I think, you know, the extra capability to make, you know, definitive decisions, and you know, he's probably made a few bad decisions as well. But anyway, we've just seen the number 35 Oak Racing Morgan Nissan do a pit stop, and he's gone under the Dunlop Bridge, and he's on his way.
Still just a lap. That can't be right. Yes, it is. Still just a lap between McNish and Davidson.
They've already surpassed Neville. They've done 170 laps now, so they've already surpassed the total number of laps since for 1990.
For 1923. 1923, yeah.
By a long distance.
Yeah.
And there's still 12 hours and 45 minutes to go. And you can see one of the team there from the Oak Morgan Nissan just examining the tires. And even though there may not have been, you know, a problem, the engineers always like to have a look and get their hands on the tires, feel the tires. They do everything but taste the tires, and they want to see how it's wearing, if it's graining, if it's wearing to one side. They'll put their hands on it and feel probably the temperatures.
The temperature, yeah.
And they'll be doing pressure checks.
And they will go around and measure it tire to tire. So if they've got one that's getting hot, they want to know why.
And all that information, of course, is logged, isn't it?
I think the other fascinating thing about the Le Mans 24-hour race is that if you go back into sort of races of years ago, there were the great team managers, people like John Wire, who would have his drivers lined up, 2 drivers per car, and say, you are going to lap in so-and-so. He would tell the other car, right, you're going to lap 5 seconds a lap slower, and so on. It isn't like that anymore. While it isn't every man for himself, there's no question about it. And when you get out there, you are driving it flat as fast as it will go. And as somebody said so rightly earlier on today, anything goes wrong, you've basically lost your positions. You're not going to get it back. If you have a problem with the car, look at number 1 Audi. He's going like blazes at the moment. 325s. He's way down there in 11th place. And with the best will in the world, if he gets into the top half dozen, everybody will say that was a fantastic drive, chum, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know, they'll be thinking what might have been.
Yeah. Because
those guys were going for 3 in a row, weren't they?
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, the stakes are so high that you know, each of these, even the Audi drivers, although, you know, we're just mentioning now with the #1 car down in 11th position overall, as we see some excited fans there. They're all wanting to win here. Of course, they're all wanting to, you know, beat each other, and they'll go to great lengths to beat each other, probably further than the team Dr. Ulrich and the rest of the Audi team would wish them to.
Sorry about that. You knew I was looking at something. There was a guy there with a large bottle of orangeade, and I thought if he can do that on orangeade, I wish I'd got some.
Well, I think we have stronger here if you want. Might I offer you some?
Oh dear. So Alan McNeil still leading in Davidson in the battle that's going on between the Audi, the 2 Toyotas, second and third. Ollie Jarvis, and that's been it's nice to see him with a car that really, you know, it befits his ability.
Ollie Jarvis,
yeah,
an really absolute gentleman, a fantastic racing driver to boot. You know, I was so pleased for him. He was driving for Alex Job, obviously he's an Audi works driver, but for Alex Job was running the sort of the satellite works team, if you like, or whatever, for the Daytona 24-hour, and they were our teammates, and we were across the other side of the garage in the Porsche. Yeah. So anyway, we were 1-2 with 10 minutes to go, but they eventually won it. We made a mistake with our fuel calculations, or with our strategy a little bit. However, he won the watch, and then of course a few weeks later he wins at Sebring. Yeah. So he had a fantastic start to the year, and no better guy. He's a lovely fella.
You mentioned then Alex Brundle, I see. Quite well up in that car, and I'm delighted for him. His father must be very pleased that that's come off well. That car's in the top 10.
Well, it doesn't look like he's missing his dad this year, does it?
No.
Yeah, he's doing a stellar job.
I think it sort of was a pretty, how can I put it, upsetting when you find your father still faster than you are. And we're still looking at they're still working on the Corvette. Yeah, we've got
a lot of dust.
Clouds of dust and everything else as well. We can't see why it is what it is, but I'm sure we will.
We're just seeing silhouettes.
Yeah, we've got a yellow flag on the corner, and I'm waiting to find out, but we're going to get a safety car dispatched. There's no question about that.
Oh,
that's a very big accident
crash.
and
a fire also.
Fire as well, and safety car is out.
The engine and gearbox has been ripped off that car. And so hopefully a lot of energy dissipated.
Yes.
And the door was open as well. That's a prototype. We're not sure which prototype it is.
No.
At the moment.
So we're in a safety car situation. There will be, as you have seen earlier on, for those of you who've had the misfortune to watch the cars out before, there are usually 3 safety cars go out, and that is what is going to happen.
So we're just waiting to see.
It's the car actually that had a problem earlier on today, isn't it? 25.
It's the 30 car, is it?
We think it's a car that had a problem earlier on today. It's car number 30. Yeah.
HVM status car. Yeah. Well, let's hope that driver is okay. You can see the medical team have arrived, and they've taken every precaution, but that was a huge crash.
Yeah.
And that was
started
just
coming into the corner, didn't it?
Yeah, and it looks like that's at the end of the Porsche curves, isn't it? And that's not a wall you want to
no, it's not.
to visit. But there seemed to be a lot of energy dissipated, a lot of parts coming off the car, and I think from what we saw in that one replay, the what looked like certainly the gearbox and the back end broke off it, which is probably designed to do. Yeah, absolutely, to dissipate the energy. Yeah, that's the number 30. Yeah,
it's the Lola. And I suspect
Well spotted.
That may well be
the
driver. I suspect that the driver is out of the car.
That looks like Tony Burgess, is it? That his helmet?
I think it's Tony Burgess's helmet. I think so. So we've got pace car out. This is, as we said, in the S's there, McNish still leading the race. We are going to have that pace car out for a while, but it may not be as long as some of the stops that we've had, because there isn't an Armco damage situation, which is going to help a little bit. And meanwhile, if you're thinking, like I'm thinking, it'd be quite nice to have a cup of tea, then just go off, put the kettle on, have the cup of tea, enjoy a little break. We'll be back with you at Le Mans in just a few minutes' time after the break. We're back at Le Mans. I'm Neville Hay, and we're looking at the pace car again, which came out just a few minutes ago. For those of you who have perhaps just joined us, we did see an enormous accident for car number 30, but I'm delighted to tell you that we also saw the driver discussing what had happened with the marshals, and in general terms, then it was quite a nice change, wasn't it, after some of the adventures we've had today?
Yeah, I mean, that's it's certainly a relief, isn't it, to see Anthony Burgess standing by the wall under his own steam, and he took his own helmet off there, and I think he was just discussing with the marshals. He might be asking where he is, but at least he's here, and that was a very, very scary moment. Yeah, the car is completely destroyed. It's lost the engine, it's lost the gearbox, or certainly the whole back end and gearbox anyway.
Yes, everything sort of that was supposed to fall off fell off and took it away. And there is Alan McNish.
A very concerned looking Alan McNish there.
Very concerned indeed. He's still down as being in the car, incidentally, you know, but I don't think he was in the car. And here, in fact.
Yeah, that's, yeah, that looks to be wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's got to be wrong.
Will they get into trouble?
Oh, I doubt it.
Will there be questions asked?
Yes, if they are, we know who'll get the blame, don't we? Me.
I was thinking, well, it couldn't be me.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. Well, we can blame Carlton. He's just come back. He doesn't actually know we're talking about him at the moment, but say nothing. Right, so...
He just left us to our own devices there, didn't he? And ran out.
You may say, yeah, just like that.
10 minutes ago.
You may say sort of the driver has come back and will go off to the medical unit for a checkout. But it was quite a relief to see him step away from the car. And now it's a question of picking up the car. As I've said, this isn't, I think, going to be a very long session, purely and simply because once we've actually cleared the bits and pieces of car off the track, it isn't a question of damaged Armco or something like that. So we will probably, with the marshals hard at work here sweeping the debris off the track, be going back to a situation soon with the pace cars going in. I'd say probably in about another 10 minutes or so, something like that.
You know what, I've just actually been doing a radio interview a few moments ago concerning Alan Simonsen, and then I stepped back in after saying it's an extraordinary good safety record here at Le Mans. I know that a lot of you must be watching this, and maybe some of you are new to motorsport. And when you're seeing ambulances getting scrambled in the middle of the night, you're probably asking yourself, why on earth are these guys doing this sort of thing? It is for the love of the sport. And Alan Simonsen passed away for the love of the sport. And it is that passion that has made his family take the decision to ask Aston Martin to continue racing and to try and win it for him. Let's just hope that this incident as well passes by without injury. Let's not forget we haven't had a fatality during the race since 1986, when poor Joe Gartner, the Austrian, crashed on the Mulsanne, ended up in the trees and beyond, unfortunately. Yes, and today we lost Alan Simonsen, and let's just hope we don't lose any more, shall we? So, nighttime racing, it's part of the allure of Le Mans, and it looks, I've got to say, I think it looks absolutely magnificent.
And you can see it's a fantastic spectacle, isn't it? But you can just see how hard and how active or proactive those drivers are being under the safety car with their tyre temperatures.
Yes.
Because, of course, our ambient temperature has dropped, our track temperature has dropped, and so will their tyre pressures and temperatures, so they'll want to keep those pretty high. They'll want to use quite a lot of brakes because you get a lot of heat soak from the brakes that will keep the tires hot as well, and also we need the brakes hot.
You can see the rear end, the engine, the transmission, everything else as well being carried separately away there.
Yeah,
well,
that's.
I haven't seen the incident myself. Was it actually captured on camera?
Yeah, well, just the aftermath. I don't think the impact. We didn't see the impact anyway. We just saw the aftermath, and there was a bit of a fire as well. But the marshals were just right there to extinguish that. But actually, when we saw the first pictures, we were just seeing a cloud of what we thought was dust and probably more smoke and a mixture of dust. Yeah, and we were just seeing silhouettes. But thankfully, everybody is okay there.
And do we know if Burgess is all right?
Well, we've seen him out of the car.
He was out of the car, standing.
We saw him standing by the barrier talking to the marshals.
Tony Burgess, of course, the Canadian from the American Le Mans series. So you must have raced against him.
Yeah, I think so.
There we are.
I have.
So, a car with a podium chance, the HMV Status GP machine. It is the 30 car, isn't it? It's in contact. Yes, it is. Yeah. Yes, going for a conservative strategy. They said something of a reliability run, perhaps, but it's the 8 car being called to the box on this lap. So running in P2, Anthony Davidson will be coming in. And yes, we are, as you know, behind the safety cars, all 3 of them in the night time here. Well, this is Johnny Molin's car, expert in the wet, general good guy. They've had a bit of a rough ride, but it didn't get any rougher than that for Tony Burgess. Goodness me, that looked really nasty, just seeing the state of the vehicle.
Well, you know, as Neville and I were discussing, you know, it was one of those accidents, or certainly it has appeared to be, that all the energy, or a lot of the energy, was dissipated by parts breaking off the car, which Neville quite rightly pointed out it's designed to do.
Yes.
And it was, you know, that's fortunate for the driver, because it looks like that was...
Fuel and tyres. Fuel and tyres.
That's to Ollie Jarvis on the number 3 Audi being called in.
Now, Lola build a very good, very strong car. They always did. And if you go back right to the days of Eric Broadley, he, and I will say this sort of carefully, was not known to make compromises.
Yeah.
So there it is, the 30 car. It is all over for the HMV Status GP, and Tony Burgess, we understand, is okay. Oh, let's hope so. It's deep breath time, I've got to say, at Le Mans. As you know, we lost Alan Simonson earlier on in this event, and Aston Martin race on, and indeed, so do we. Here we are, the 8 car coming to the box right now. Standard stock for them, one presumes. No change of driver, is it? I think it's just drink spotters. He wants a talk, yes, that's for sure.
To talk to somebody about
it. No, he wants this armrest here that they were fixing earlier on with duct tape has come loose again.
Yeah, it certainly has. Good call.
And he wants it. He wants more duct tape.
Yeah,
blue preferably.
Yes, not being sartorially aware, but yes, he just needs to feel comfortable in the vehicle, and little things like that count for an awful lot in terms of concentration, don't they?
Well, absolutely, because if that came loose,
well, you move your arm and you bang your elbow, and you might think that might hurt, but it does.
I think it looks like it actually looks like I don't know if it's an elbow or head protecting, or what it is there.
It might go green this time. It might go green, we're not sure. Just keep your brake temperatures up.
We are going green in just a few moments' time by the looks of things.
Well, it is suggested
But the danger is if one of those parts comes loose within the car, then it's like a stone in a washing machine.
There we are. We're hearing that the safety car may well be called off in just a few moments' time. I'm failing to see what we're actually looking at here. That is the 30 Lola Coupe.
That is the Lola Coupe.
Yes, and thank goodness that Tony Burgess got out of there okay. There is a safety cell. You see that. It's the sort of remaining solid part after the vehicle has taken several hits. It looked extraordinarily dramatic. We're going to take a short commercial break, and then we will be back for the restart here. Can you believe it? We're not even at the halfway mark of this year's Le Mans, the 90th running of the great race. They're holding them up, waiting for the safety cars to come round. Still illuminated, I've got to say, but I expect, and the teams expect, that we'll be racing again fairly shortly. We'll keep an eye on it just in case we get the restart while we're on the break. Just for the time being, 12 hours and 26 minutes and more remaining of this year's Le Mans. So they're releasing them to behind the safety car, which is still on course, all three of them. We will take that break and we'll be back in just a few moments' time. Stay with us.